Is it finding it now? Okay, it looks like it's working. Cool. I guess I should edit the title because it's not featuring Rem this time. Rem is not here. We're featuring Shivan. Haha. Our guest. And this is for Ian. To we're doing it to Akari too. Because why not? Okay. So, last time, since you weren't here, Shivan, I'll catch up to speed. We did all the way up until Aina, because we believed that it was disingenuous to stop at any of these points right here. I don't know if you can see that, Shivan. I don't know if you're talking. Okay, I can't hear Shivan anymore. Red, can you say something? Okay, for some reason I can't hear you guys anymore. What is going on? I just changed the settings so I can hear you guys. Try this again. Can you say something? Okay. How about if I do this? Say something? Okay, you know what? It is on my end, by the way. Okay, say something again. Okay, you know what? This is really annoying. It's the headset problem. Let's get to there. I should be able to hear you guys now? What? Hello? Now I can't hear you guys at all. What the heck is going on? I'm just gonna change this to this. Say something? It was just working, and now it's all over the place, and I can't hear you guys. This is evil.
Yep.
There we go. Fixed it.
Something. Alright, it's working now.
Jesus Christ. Okay. So, catch up to speed. We decided to stop at Aina because it wouldn't make sense to stop at any of these above. I think you would agree with that. And Aina's our last, like, really
I don't
good.
have any video.
Hmm?
The video just doesn't work for me. It's just black.
Yeah, it works
Oh,
for me. I can see it.
I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll switch browsers or something, but then I gotta log in again.
are you on a
Anyway, I'll
browser?
work on it. I'm on Firefox.
What the?
Oh, that's probably why, because you're not using the Discord
I've
app.
never tried that before.
There's an app.
Wait, what?
You could do it on browser.
Wait, Shivan! No way, dude. No, there is an app for you for Discord. Like, it's a completely different
Oh, cool.
program.
Oh, I'll look for that. Hold on.
Oh no, I didn't even know. Anyways, we'll gather everything together while he's doing that. So, we need to pick up what? I'll grab it from our JP tier list. If you can just name me what, like, name drop all the characters I need to grab while I grab them, Red. While he gets things situated.
What am I grabbing?
You're just letting me know who's coming out in order. We're gonna grab Booty.
Okay.
So Booty-chan is
Yep.
coming. Who else is coming?
And Sharo. Sharo's on the same banner.
Sharo's coming. Sharo on the same banner.
Uh,
Okay, well, who's coming
and
up?
we've got the wedding units, the first ones. Maru
first-
and Ichiko.
Okay, that's a wedding unit, but the wrong one. Haha.
Yep.
So we got her, and then we got Mari, who's over here. Oops, that's the wrong tab.
And then it's Tenin 2, Ice Tenin,
Okay.
and Mama 2.
Mom too.
Man, really made that banner.
Dude, that
No,
banner
dude,
was a very
so
sad
good.
banner, okay? That was a very sad
I mean, a lot of these upcoming banners are like kind of sad.
I know, because it's like one really
That's why I'm just
good
not
and
there.
one just very
I don't know.
lackluster.
Calling Ice 10 in really good is a bit of a stretch. She does her job.
Hey, when she came out, she did her job really good, really well. Okay,
Okay, it
come on,
worked. I can see in the app.
Okay,
nice.
yo.
Okay, Akari comes out
So
at one
moving on to
point.
the
I
next
know
one.
that. Is Akari next?
She's right afterwards. Yep. Next is
Yeah,
Akari.
let's go. I knew it.
That's also a sad banner.
Cause
But
she's
they had to do
alone.
it.
Cause she's
Well,
alone.
Ian won't care that she's alone. She'll just get like thrown in at a random point as if her banner didn't exist.
Who
Just
else?
like Sayla too. Then in summer we've got Tama and Yuina.
Tama and Yuina. Oh boy, that's another
And you
interesting
probably
banner.
remember who came right after that one. Because it was half anniversary.
All I remember was it's the light friends. You know
Yep.
the light duo.
Wow, it's a very rare double light banner. Did we ever get another one ever?
Wait, it's not
No,
even,
we didn't.
dude. It's not even that. It's the best
Nope,
light
we haven't.
banner. It's the best
yeah.
light banner.
That's the only one with 2 light on it. Ever. No, we got the Christmas banner just a little bit ago. That had 2 light on it, technically.
Yeah, but like
Yep, those are
after
the only
that,
2 banners with double light. Nope, there was Ruka and
Who was
Tora.
after that?
That was a light banner. But yeah, light
Who's-
kind of didn't
who's
get
who's
banners
after the
this.
double lights? I don't remember the banners at that point.
Inori too, just by herself.
Oh, that's the saddest. That was the saddest banner when it first came out. Oh boy.
Yeah.
And then is it Shadow after that? Is it the Shadow pair that one? Or is it not?
No, it's still going. We're doing
Oh.
Yanagi
Oh!
2 and Mia 2.
Right. Those two, dude. Those two are
That
really
banner
strong.
only got better over time.
Yeah, that banner was like, I skipped on that banner thinking it wasn't that great. I was wrong.
Nowadays, this looks pretty good.
I know. Oh, oops, I messed that up. There we go. Who else we got?
Yuki, light Yuki.
Light you. Oh,
Just by herself.
Okay, in this day and age, I think that's the saddest banner.
Yeah, even though she got buffed.
This year, it's the saddest banner. I can't say it's.
I want to look at her numbers. Does she actually even deal damage?
She does AOE damage, and she has a DP modifier.
Oh god, she does.
But
Why?
it's it's questionable damage. It is very questionable.
After that is the Onsen sisters.
Ah, yes, that's what I was waiting for. I was like, dude, they're coming at some
Isuzu
point.
and Nina.
They're coming at some point. That's also a very feels bad
Wait,
banner.
now it has 2 super breaks on it? Is that because they changed it?
Yeah, so they actually buffed
That's really funny.
Super Break. So they actually buffed Super Break last patch in JP.
Yeah, they made it so
So
will work if
it
you break
applies
on it.
before and applies after.
That's a really funny way of
What's
fixing it in terms
funny?
of coding, though.
What's funny is they could have just removed the before, and
Before one, yeah,
I'm pretty sure it'd been
it
fine.
would work the same.
But I think the only reason why they didn't do that is so then the damage portion, if you did already reach max, can still give you more DR.
Yeah, if you're getting to max DR,
Right?
and then
Like
super break it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's why they code it that way. It just looks really odd. After the
that
Oshima
is
sisters.
Dark Adel and Thunder Union.
Oh my god,
Which
I
is a very
totally
interesting banner.
forgot about that banner. Dark Adel. No, that was a really good banner. And granted, a lot of these banners are good. Just
Yeah, they're getting better now. We've got out of the Inori part, and now it's just going up.
the Union banner. Oh man. And then we got is it the Shadow banner after this?
Hisame.
Not yet.
No, not yet.
Not
Pajama
yet.
Hisame and
Dang.
Light Monanyan.
Jesus
Yeah, we
Christ.
gotta get one more light banner in there before it starts getting good.
Get one more like. Oh my god, what the heck happened here?
And then it's the Sharo banner right afterwards.
Light, and then Thunder,
Thunder
Hisame.
Hisame.
Which technically she can go into the damage portion, but I just never did that
Yeah.
because I know all those Hisame simps do use her for damage. She actually doesn't deal terrible damage.
No, it's single target thunder damage with like, modifier.
And then it's a Shadow 2 banner.
Yep.
Which is arguably very very strong for Thunder, but from my experience with Maria SS2 at Limit Break 0, uh, feels Omega fat. And then we have is it now the final banner we're going to talk about, the Akari
Yep,
Misato?
the Christmas
Okay.
one.
Cool, cool, cool.
And that's the last one.
Yep. That's the last one we're going to talk about because that's all there is to it. Let's see. Who was it? Akari. They still haven't made a Hisame Akari, like, a new version of them, except until AB, I think, right? They just made it where Iwasawa has, if she breaks, she gets an extra turn. And then in the turn that
Yeah.
she breaks, she can use
She has a
her
free skill.
blaster skill for free,
Nice.
which is pretty cool. I didn't read her full kit yet, so I actually don't know if her ult can also be used for that too.
I don't think her ult is free on extra turns, unfortunately.
Okay, so it's just I didn't read her kit yet. I just pulled, turned off my brain.
Yeah, I just pulled her too.
I just pulled. She's already over here being like, Okay, so we have this is our tier list so far. Granted, of course, not that people can read what's written here, but if you are without SS1 on Aoi, she wouldn't be in this tier 10 position. She's only there because of SS1 inclusion. Without it, it's a little clunky. So I would have dropped her underneath Adel around this area. We're gonna
Still very good though.
feel very good. So we're gonna start with one of the sadder banners. We did get free pulls on this banner, and Shadow came to me Limit Break 1, and I was like, oh man, I finally have an AoE, like another AoE EX skill to use. Let's bring her to dungeon. And my god, did I realize her damage potency sucks. It was
Doesn't do damage.
bad. So we're gonna start with Booty first, though. Okay. Buritica at her release, she was pretty interesting, I would say. Sure, we still had some null resist here and there, but 10 hit count on a non-null resist plus all of her different debuffs was actually really potent, really nice. Rarely used, but she
Not
had a
much content
lot of
for it.
things going for her, and people kind of called her the better EDS, right?
Yeah.
I would say her only content was 4.2 boss because of the fact that for a certain one of the bosses, due to what she can do, because she's a 31X member. Of course, I'm not going to dive into that because that'd be spoilers. But she was decently used there for people who did end up getting her and trying to clear that content back then before the nerf. Because remember, the nerf happened at this banner here, the Tsukasa Karen.
Yep.
So it was pre-nerf, and she was actually pretty good then. Granted, EN, I don't think there is a place for her at all.
No, you basically
current
just
EN.
use her for ore battles sometimes because she can mitigate damage before you get your
Yep.
zone up.
So
That's basically it.
I would still put her underneath the defense buffers.
Yep.
Granted, remember, I currently have viable at 4. Do we think that she is considered viable at this state? I think I would put her on the bottom of viable. She is still viable. I just would most likely not use her if I had the choice in EN, especially with the current climate that we're expecting to have due to what we know that EN currently has. A large portion of it has to do with the fact that the charms exist, the plus 20 level cap exists, so like you don't really need her damage mitigation. I feel like it's not needed just because she herself does that job, and then you realize you don't need that job because well, someone else does it, right? She has heals. She has a single turn defense up, which can be also be used to make sure, like, at any time, as long as she's 0 SP or higher, just like all 31X members, which is really nice to have an emergency for the first 3 turns if you're going to be bursted, or the first like 4 turns or something, right? You can also use her ult to mitigate damage and decreases a bunch of things like attack, misfortune, all that stuff. So very good, but never to be seen after the nerf of 4.2, and 4.2 nerf is what Ian's getting. So I think she can happily sit at the bottom of viable tier. I think she'll still be viable, but for mostly the early players who haven't really done anything, right? So that's kind of her problem. Oh, I didn't realize Akin is in the actual stream. So, hello, Akin.
Oh, on YouTube?
Yep, on YouTube.
I can't see it, so you're on your own.
Yes. I mean, I am on my own. I didn't realize. I just got a report saying there was a chat. I was like, oh. Anyways, so that's kind of Booty's problem. When I first got her, I actually really liked her kit. This is pre nerf time. However, after the nerfs, I can't see a place where you'd actually use her unless you're an early game player, where she is still viable as a solid healer and just a better idiot, right? Shadow. She's good for AoE defense down and dark defense down. I think the biggest thing is that she's kind of competing with Fubuki, and during this point in the game, I think there's only been 2 or 1 AoE score attack at this point.
Yeah,
I can't remember off the top of my head.
One that she joins with, which is a pseudo AoE boss.
Yeah. So, is she good? I think she's good for other reasons, but not for her SS1 in particular. I think her SS1 is pretty good when it comes to being used on her other SSs, but this one in particular is very sad. How are your thoughts on that, Shivan?
Doesn't she come with that blaster ability, Katrishka or something like that?
No, that's on her S, actually.
Oh, that's on her S.
Yeah, that's her S skill. So that's why, like,
Okay.
that's the interesting part of her SS2 is she doesn't need her SS1 to be, like, to even have that skill, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would personally put Shadow kind of over here, right?
Well, she has elemental death down, and
Exactly.
Fubuki doesn't. Like, you don't need. Isn't that below?
Fubuki does have elemental death down.
Fubuki,
it's not her skill, not her ultimate.
Yeah. Fubuki's just awkward. So Fubuki is her EX has the fragile. Her A skill has defense down. Is it AoE or single target? I don't remember off the top of my head.
Single target.
I never used her because I didn't have her. And then her S version, her SS common skill has the dark defense down. So she's a little bit more on the clunky side because you do have to get to OD3. And even if you go OD3, you can't use all 4 debuffs or whatever. I mean, you can't use all 3 debuffs that she has. It's impossible. So you kind of have to pick and choose with her, which is the clunky part about her. Nowadays, you don't with her upgrade in JP, but back then you did. So Shadow, kind of just like a budget Fubuki, in my opinion. Granted, Fubuki's way better because of the fragile. I do count fragile, if you noticed, much more important of a debuff than other debuffs that people assume for, because the strength of weakness is actually very potent and becomes more and more potent as time went by, right? So when I first made the EN tier list over here, it didn't seem like I valued it too much. Just if you had both, you were high. If you only had one, it wasn't that big of a difference. Like right here, right? It's like it's okay, not that big of a difference. So, but over here, in this couple months later or whatever, especially as they get closer and closer to Shadow 2's appearance. They start inserting more like you kind of want to have weakness. It's 100% weakness instead of 50%. They start implementing a lot of those here and there. So I personally would put her in this spot here. She's better than these two when it comes to doing her job. Um,
I think though I would put her in strong, just because she's so easy to max out her debuffs with just OD1 because she's an X member. She can go
yeah,
negative,
that
and
is
in
true.
2 turns you
Um,
can give 2 death and two
that is true.
elemental
You know
death
what?
downs.
You are right on that. This does like worry about that type of stuff. In fact, actually, at this point, Megu is should not be here anymore. She should be in this spot. She has very hard to use at this point in time. Um, I think. Hmm. I think you're kind of right. I do think she kind of fits in this build here, but I think you're right. She actually is pretty strong here. Um, just the mere fact that she is easy to use, you can get her debuffs out pretty quickly. But
Mhm.
definitely like around these two. I think she's definitely higher than Megu at this point, but somewhere around here. Her damage potential is just really bad. We don't talk about that.
Mm.
We'll start with the brides. This is actually the first set of brides, is it?
Yep, first set.
First set of brides, yeah. So, um, for this list here, by the way, I am assuming that you own all the versions at this point. Okay, so
Yep,
anything we talk about, we're assuming you have every single version. Okay,
it's important
so
for both of these
Ichiko,
styles.
we are assuming that you have Ichiko 1, which is very important. Um, at that point, she also provides now Fragile. Her regular
Mhm.
skill is just a worse version, in my opinion, than her A skill, which is Lionheart. Lionheart will provide her more defense for 1 turn. Her common skill and her SS this time only gives her more con for 2 turns, which is very little. Not really worth it. So
Mhm.
I'm thinking she's more so in just a little bit higher than her SS1 because she can provide a fragile on top of it. She was pretty strong. In fact, with her, if you have her, Megu, Yuri, Yotsuha, Mua, and Yunyun, you basically have the best fire team available at that point
Yeah,
in
it
time.
does a lot.
So because she's part of like the fire squad, I think she easily slots either at the bottom, if not the top of tier 8 at this timing. Um, Granted, when I say at this timing, we are assuming that the patch we're going to be playing on is the Akari Misato patch. Okay.
Okay.
Everything we move in here, by the way, we're assuming we're on this patch. So after Shadow 2, right? If we need to move things down once we get to Shadow 2 because we feel like Shadow 2 is way too powerful, we will move things down, right? Um, but that's kind of where I'm at. Is I always found her to be really strong. Her damage
Mhm.
potency is just incredibly high. Um, in fact, I would easily slot her uh, right next to these girls here, but there's like no space at this point in time. I'll slot her for now next to Megu. She's definitely actually better than Megu, but we'll slot her in here for now. I don't know how
Okay.
much experience you guys had with Ichiko, but
0.
you have 0.
Oh,
So I've never used her.
Oh,
I don't
I
have
used
her.
her to beat Skullfeather. Her attack scale's off con, so it
yeah.
can go
It's
up or
very
down.
good.
So she's really good. In fact, you can just not even have Yuri and you have her, and she's your main damage source because she just
Oh yeah, for
deals
sure.
so much damage. It's
Mhm.
incredible. Um, like you would think, oh man, like I've seen Aoi, I've seen Chie, uh, so they don't have the bestest, like the best of the best in terms of multipliers for their what's it called again, their element, because fire actually has the highest like actual multipliers. The only difference that they have is, well, one has, the crazy funnel, and the other one has token, right? She has neither of them, but her base potency is pretty high. I think it's like 16 or 17k or something. It's kind of high.
Yep.
And then it costs half, just like how Chia's costs half, right? Hits like a truck. Because it's supposed to be 16 SP cost, but costs only 8 when they're taunted, which is really insane. But yeah, that's kind of where I would place Ichiko. She's not the best of the best damage dealer, but she is a very, very safe and easy to execute damage dealer, and I think Shivan would agree with me on that. Mari, at this point in time, I actually think she should be slotted in 9. Very, very strong damage dealer. Main concern for her is she really, really dependent on her team, right? The reason why her and Adel are in this spot while the rest of Ice looks a little sad, right? Is because their support lineup is pretty bad, but they themselves house so much power for themselves, right? So Mari 3 is only up here if you have Mari 2, right? So I'm gonna add here with SS1, right? Oops. Because without SS1, she's not here, right? If you have SS1, this is just because I know there's going to be people who ask, oh no, like, is this with or without? Blah, blah, blah. Even though, like, I'm going to put here, own all styles. No, Memoria. JP terminology, my brain, even though like it's written up there, people will be asking. So I'm just gonna place it in here so people know, right? That's basically where I house her. She will fill in being able to do field, and she could usually how you use her is you actually break with her field skill. And then you would just build DR normally, and then once you get 200, then she'll be able to have her, her big funnel just like Adele does, but she only gets 1 stack. And because of her HP modifier and all that, she hits like a freaking truck, and it's actually crazy. I don't know how much you guys use Muddy 3. I have only used her once, and she hits like a truck.
I have her, but I've never used her because.
But she is very
She's
hard for me to
actually-
execute because mine is LB0.
She's actually pretty hard to use against a lot of bosses, though, because of the DR requirement
Yeah, so
and the SP that you need to both do her field and then use her ult.
well, I mean,
It's
granted,
workable.
I think you have to
Okay.
understand, right? Is most people are going to be breaking anyways, and then like doing that same thing. The only people who aren't doing that are Adele users, right? At this point in time, like you remember the days, right? Like the only ones who were able to like one shot the bosses and not care about destruction was Adele too. Like if you had Adele, you didn't care. It like even Aoi had to care about destruction, right? You had to set her up, break. Like that's why Shadow 2's building up DR with her S skill was super important, right? Was because you had to break first, right? And it was painful for that. And that was the thing. Let's look at the other things. So we got next is Miko. By the way, later on we will shift characters around as we see fit once we finish up, right? So Miko. So Miko
was solid.
was solid. Nowadays, on the more sad side, I really want to see them buff her SS2. I know they don't buff
Well, she doesn't
SS2s,
have
but
fragile as a common skill. She needs that. Just give it to her. 4 SP for
Okay.
single target fragile would do wonders.
hear me out. Hear me out. They just released. Hear me out. They just released her upgrade. Okay?
Yep.
She's on the next banner.
Okay.
SS4 is coming. Hear me out. Look at everyone else. They had another SS. Look at that. Shiki had to wait. But everyone else didn't have to wait, okay? Except for
Yep.
I think Yanagi and Shiki. Okay, we're just gonna pray that she doesn't fit in that category. She could get a common skill fragile.
I'm
She
just
could,
going to pray that she's not better than the light
right?
version, because that means she's
It's
probably gonna
copium,
kick her light version off
real
every team,
copium.
and then there will be no good light style.
But she might. Okay. But at this point in time,
Might happen.
fragile was still pretty good. Um,
Yeah.
and the thing is that her ice defense down was really potent because it was the only, and it still is to this day, outside of 1S AB character, the only single target ice down in the game. Do you guys know that?
Isn't it the only single target one?
Oh no, can I not hear you guys again? Red, can you say something?
Hello?
Oh no, what happened? All of a sudden, I can't hear you guys again.
Can you hear me?
What in the
Can you hear
world?
me?
I didn't change any setting.
It's not.
Can
I
you
can
hear
hear
me?
you.
Okay, say something. Change yours back. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah.
What is happening? Okay, I will disconnect and reconnect real quick. Hello?
Hello?
It's not working.
Hello.
Jeez.
It's not working.
Why is this the
Hmm.
case?
Hmm.
How about that?
Hello.
No. What? In the middle of this time, it's just in the middle of everything. Can you guys talk again? Okay, you're back. Except for the stream cannot pick up your voice anymore. So I'm gonna. No. It's on YouTube. They can't pick up your voice. Let me just start this. See if I can hear everyone still. Okay, I can still hear everybody. Okay, we're gonna change this to this. Can you say something?
Yep.
Yeah.
let's-
Ooh.
Okay, everything's back to normal.
yeah,
God,
it's working.
why does it do this? Anyways, Nico, is still the only ice defense down single target outside of an SAB unit.
Yep. And that one's not even good because it costs 9 SP.
Yep.
It's a lot of SP.
So, if you don't know, Miko's EX skill will provide single target ice defense down. The skill actually scales off of int, and so you can just use her as a damage dealer if you just build her as a debuffer, which is kind of insane. You can actually break with her.
Yeah.
Very strong in that regard. Is she good as a damage dealer? No. Don't get me wrong. She's not that strong as a damage dealer, but she does get her job done. Her defense down is very potent, and she also comes with her her other rested kit, which is A skill and all that stuff. So she does have a single target defense down for 4 SP, which is huge. In fact, usually how you use her is because her EX skill will decrease the cost by half if she herself. I mean, if the enemy has defense down, any kind of defense down, by the way, she can just use her 4 SP defense down straight into EX, which makes it very easy to use her as long as you have OD2. That's from my experience, right? Very, very strong in that regard, and very potent. I would probably put her in strong at this point. Definitely better than Mia at this point, because Mia only gives you fragile. And she gives you 2 debuffs. Sure, it's in the same category, but she can easily give it with very small amount of SP cost. I think it's like, what, 17? I mean, 14 plus 4 is 18, with only 18 SP. It's kind of insane. Oh,
And she even gets the half SP cost.
at this point, does she have the 2 turns yet, or is she only 1 turn?
Yeah, it's still 2 turns. She was like one of the first ones. To
Yeah,
do
she's
that,
the
'cause,
first one who has 2 turns, which was
Ichigo
insane.
had 2-turn fragile. I think she was
True.
technically first.
True. Ichigo was first. So,
But this is the first one that like really matters because
yeah,
she can power her own half SP cost with it.
exactly. So, that's why I would put her like a little under Fubuki still, because Fubuki can do so much. But very, very solid, and actually made Ice extremely strong for some time. Granted, the rest of Ice was in a sad boat, mostly because Field, and still continues to be a little sad because of Field. I think that's Ice's biggest issue is fielding. Next we have Lisa 2, right?
Okay.
And Lisa 2's sad. She is a quote unquote better version of Tama 1. But you can't generalize the skill. So worse Tama 1. So Tama 1 can revive DP for the Vanguard. Lisa does it for the whole team. I don't know if the SP costs are the same. I don't remember off the top of my head. But
I think Risa's is cheaper.
But like Lisa SS1 and SS2 are so rarely used. They actually had a bug with Lisa.
Nope, it's not cheaper. It's more expensive.
It's more expensive.
14 SP.
It's only by 1 though.
Yeah.
But either way, Lisa actually had a bug in JP. I don't even know what it is to this day. I just remember there was a bug, and they had the bug for over a year. No one knew the bug existed because no one ever used her. Do you guys know about that?
No, I just knew no one used her because she's kind of not that interesting.
Okay, yes, but the same patch that they patched Unison Yuki, they also patched Lisa, but no one cared because no one uses her. So is she good? Well, I mean, she basically will fit in the same place Tama fits at this point, and they basically do the same job. But I'll just put her in 6. She's technically not that strong. In fact, I think a lot of the healers should be moved down. We'll move them down eventually, but for now, we'll put them in tier 6. And when we do our final evaluation, we'll probably move all the healers down because, let's be honest, all of them feel Omega bad at this point in time. Next, we have Akari, the last SS1. Hello, Napat. In the YouTube chat. Akari 1, the final SS1. And just like a lot of the last SS1s, a lot of the last SS1s are really solid. This one also is solid, but doesn't help her future kits, so it's technically not solid. She actually comes with an easy to just bring herself the damage she needs. She gets herself a free funnel on her EX. Her common skill gives her a nice strong dark damage increase. She's single target breaker with the 50% mod. She will just destroy DP like it's nothing. In fact, in this time of the game, she was actively used because 4.2 was not nerfed yet, and she was just really easy to use there. Granted, EN will not need her for 4.2 because of the nerfs, but back then, I think she was pretty pivotal in clearing that chapter. If you didn't have any other, if you didn't have very good units, she was very good for that. In this aspect, I do kind of put her above Kanata at this point. And I think she's actually just a better breaker than Kanata.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you want to have high damage when it comes to score attacks and stuff, she's not your girl unless you have a lot
But
of
she does have
stuff.
strong funnel, so maybe she'll still get there over other breakers.
I mean, she is definitely over other breakers, like Kanata. Kanata honestly is a strong breaker, by the way. Okay, extremely strong breaker. I can't really say she's above Inori. It feels kind of weird to say that. And above Maria is a little awkward too. I would probably just slot her for now, right above Kanata. Very strong, serviceable, does her job, deals good damage,
Self-sufficient.
self-sufficient. Because remember, anything
Can
above the
spend her
viable
SP
line, guys,
efficiently. Yeah, she's very good.
anyone above the viable line is good. Don't get me wrong. It's whoever's under the viable line, you kind of are a little questionable on their purpose on a team. And so I think she's very serviceable. Next, we have Tama 4. So I've actually never used this Tama.
I've used her quite a bit.
But I do know that before Tama 5, she was actually considered really strong. Granted, I think her main issue is she's only useful for light teams, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
She
So,
only gives SP to light team.
but
She's
she's,
not even giving it to most of the team because there's only probably 2 light styles on that team
I mean, on her release, yeah.
besides her.
On her
Right.
release. Because it was like, what, you only had her and Kanade, right?
And
And-
Tsukasa. Well, not yet.
You don't have
Right
Tsukasa and
after.
Kara yet, right? So like, I think it's just
Right
it's just what, Mia, Tama, and your damage dealer. That's it.
Yeah, and Mia doesn't need the SP anymore.
Does she give the healing and the heal over time?
She gives the healing
on
to
everyone?
everyone. It's just the SP she doesn't give to
Oh.
other styles.
Well, yeah, but
Just
her
keep it.
healing, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the strongest in the game. Like
Yep,
SP
it's party heal
efficiency and
party
everything.
Regen. It's very
Um,
efficient.
If anything, I would probably put her at least above the other healers
Yep, for sure.
for period. She does her job really strong.
She can like stack regen pretty effectively.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. And I think regen only goes up to 2 stacks before it just becomes like the darkened version. I haven't tried
Yeah.
because
Usually you don't have enough SP to stack it that many times.
exactly. I think there is a character that might be able to nowadays. Because Nuka 5, you can donate SP. You can make it work, right?
Yep.
But with her came Yuina 3. Oh, she's a treat. She is a treat. I think she easily slots at the top of AoE at this time period.
Yep.
I don't think there's anyone who can outdamage her. She is very self-sufficient. If you wanted to maximize damage with her, though, it costed a little too much SP, and that was her main issue.
Yep.
If you wanted to min-max and be like, oh, I want to be the coolest kid, like, yeah, it's gonna suck. The reason behind that is she actually provides herself crit damage for dark on her ult, but you don't want to crit on her EX. You just want to crit on it while you use it, and so you're like stuck in this weird position where it costs what, 14 SP,
15 SP.
15 SP, and and you're trying not to, and you have to fish to not crit I think it's like 5 hit or 4 hit.
It's some amount of hits.
It was brutal if you wanted to do that. And granted, remember, you had to break with someone
6
too,
hits, yeah.
right? So you had to like RNG 6 hits of not critting,
Yep.
and then you also had to do it with after you break or something, because you have to break somewhere, and you probably want to crit when you break. So maximizing your DPS, not good. But even without that, she was one of the highest damage dealers in the game. She's very self-sufficient. She provides herself with a common skill that gives her an extra turn. It gives herself Dark Enhance, and you can use that twice in a row as long as you're at 25 SP, and then slap her ult out, and you'd be having herself without any buffers or debuffers. Double Dark Enhance, a 50, is it 50? I think it's 50. 50% HP mod, really solid
Yep, it's 50%.
damage, and on top of that, at least one, depending on how crazy you are, at least one dark crit damage. That's insane. And not only that, she was really easy to use. She still is really easy to use. I think she easily slots in like top of 8, if not bottom of 9 in this category. If we don't move anyone currently in the damage dealer role, I think she kind of easily slots within these two slots. Because really
Yeah,
solid.
I'd put her higher rather than lower.
What about your thoughts
So
on this,
technically,
Shivan?
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah,
It is a little hard to get like the crit damage. What
double.
is it? Crit? Is it crit rate or crit damage?
It's crit damage. It's double crit damage.
Oh, it's crit damage.
yeah, she was the only one
Yeah,
with dark crit
it's
damage for
really hard.
ages.
I usually just give up and only do the one.
I mean, I think everyone
Yeah,
does
everyone.
who's not like someone like Kappa who wants to maximize damage. So, yes, I think she easily slots within these two slots. I think we will, for now, conclude her in this 9th slot. Really solid.
I'm
Granted,
not
if
sure if you mentioned her general skill.
I
It
did,
also gives dark and stuff. Oh,
Yep,
you did. Okay,
I
sorry,
did.
I missed that.
okay,
Yeah, she needs that to get the
yep.
HP bonus on her ultimate, because that only happens during extra turns.
Now, if you're crazy enough to use her by herself, she also has an S skill, was it? That it costs 8 SP, but she gives herself general enhance plus an extra turn. Like, if you don't have a team, she is a really solid damage dealer by herself. Like, you don't have a team at all. Like, she's solid by herself. I think that's what makes her insane. Granted, you need so much SP, it's not even worth it. But hey, like, if you don't have nothing, and you only have her as a damage dealer and no supports, she's really solid. Her numbers were the highest for AoE, and she can still compete with high damage dealers in single target that weren't any of the girls up here. If they were in this category, she can compete with them as an AoE. That's how insane she was when she released. So, like, she should never be even close to their ranks, because she can do their damage, but as an AoEer.
Yeah, most of the time you're just using her for single target damage, and she was exceptional still.
Yep. Now we're going to the best light banner we've ever seen.
The best one we'll ever see.
The best one we will ever see for the upcoming future. It doesn't get better than this. Now, before anyone talks anything negative about light, I will note to you, okay, that our good friend Mac on this patch made a brand new account, rerolled to get both of them, and then beat the single time nerfed 4.2 within 72 hours. He had Friduka, these two, and like one other SS, and beat all the way up until 4.2. That's how insane this duo here is. They are incredibly strong together. Light is still strong if you have these two. It's just that there's just better options now. But don't get me wrong, Light's not bad. They're just the worst that's available, but that doesn't make them not viable. It's just that they're the worst of elements.
There's always one worst element.
Yeah.
Light just happens to be that one worst element
Exactly.
most of the time.
Most of the time, like 90% of the time. Tsukasa 3. Insane support.
Yeah, we haven't seen a buffer like her since like ever before in the history of the previous banner. She's so good.
Exactly.
She does so much.
So, you thought Yotsun 1 was good? Tsukasa 3 is basically just as good. Her main issue was, she didn't provide light crit damage. That was her main issue. Let's be honest here. That was her main issue. If her crit damage was light crit damage, I don't think we will actually be sitting here saying light is not good. Like, not even joking. Like jokes aside from light being bad, if her crit damage buff was light crit damage buff, I think we would all have concluded that she alone makes light viable. They didn't do that, so she is just strong. She is the second style to ever provide a strong field. she can also deal damage, just like Megu 3 can, but it's AoE. And then she also provides crit for the whole entire Vanguard. So the Vanguard gets crit and crit damage and a large light field. It's actually massive. Her damage potency is actually not the best, but she scales off of int, which means that she can hit max potency very easily, meaning that she can break DP like it's nothing. It's pretty common to see her break DP in this stage of the game, including even in JP. It's still a viable strat for a lot of bosses. Yep. And this is where she makes light very easy to use. Like, I would still say light may not be the best element, but they are really easy to use. Like, comparatively to the other elements, I think light is one of the easier elements to use because they're very straightforward. Extremely straightforward, especially with Scassa 3. So, her placement in here is obviously going to be an elemental because she provides the field. But other than that, she's not exactly that elemental. Her common skill provides a nice solid light enhance for the front line. And her LB3 passive helps her do all that as well. Does she slot? And of course, remember, we have to assume that her SS1, SS2 are available in this list too. I actually slot her pretty much in the 9 category in terms of power. Definitely like similar power as Mari 2, right?
Definitely.
So, you have any thoughts on this for yourself, Shivan?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mainly actually used her like instead of Seika SS2, just for ending team really because of the critical buffing. Like all she does for light is make a field, but if you don't care about field, then she's like just a really good critical buffer.
That is true. And the fact that she can also help out with damage. She can help out with DR because she deals damage. She can help out with some more OD because she hits. I think 4 or 5 times, 6. I don't remember off the top of my head. She hits a decent amount of times. If she had light crit damage, she would be a 10. Let's be real here, though. If she did, she doesn't, which is why she's in 9.
Oh, the other downside is, well, it's kind of a mixed thing. Is she buffs the front line, not just a single target. So if you have like more than one DPS or like a blaster, then she could potentially be more useful than Seika.
Yes. What actually is a saving grace for Tsukasa, interestingly enough, is the fact that she deals damage. That makes it so then she doesn't use her skill before everyone else does. So you know how usually all the non-damaging skills are used first, then the damaging skills are used from the left to right order? You would think, oh no, her crit buffs only hit for like, what, 70% or something? In terms of like crit buffs, I want to stack it twice. Well, you actually can if your damage dealer is on their left side, or if they use a skill that is not dealing damage. So if your damage dealer is on the left side and deals an auto attacks or something, and then Tsukasa goes and then does her buff, the buff stacks actually stay on the damage dealer. So you can actually double stack still with that way. In that sense, she is just a little bit more clunky and harder to use Seika too, but you can now buff more than one damage dealer, right? Instead of Seika, which only buffs one. And since if you expect to have Union as well, it's not like you need Seika's what's called again enhance, right? So that didn't matter. Tsukasa SS3 also, just a random note, really good for dungeon. Really fun to use in dungeon. Just wanted to put that out there.
She also, one of her later S styles gets a passive buff that gives something like 10% OD every time you enter a battle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just makes her like destroy them.
Kind of crazy. Cotton 3, her counterpart. First of all, her ult looks hella cool. Let me just put that out there. Your EX go, holy crap. That animation is wicked. I love it. Her damage is not the greatest thing in the world. But if you hit weakness, she will be putting numbers of DR and provide herself with a strong funnel. That was massive alone, to the point that just like Yuina, she can put out numbers like a single target damage dealer can if they don't have access to a strong funnel. I personally think she is better than Yuki. And if remember, she doesn't need to access like to be on weakness or something to get the extra hits for strong funnel.
Yeah.
That is built into her kit, unconditional, just like Akari is. It was very easy to use her in terms of like in viability and stunts to just break a boss. You can easily just run Tsukasa Karen, and in that order you both ult, and since she's also critting, and Tsukasa deals an extra chip damage from critting, boom, you just break the boss, you get a lot of DR in. She was kind of crazy. Easily, in my opinion, slots within the bottom of 9 with Yuina, or at the top of 8.
I say top of 8.
I would personally say top of 8. Just due to the fact that I actually value Yuina way more than I value Kanen 3.
Yep.
Now, I will also put her, I don't think I put her in there in the JP list, but she also is a very strong utility support. I just didn't put her in here. In JP, but for EN, I'll put her here. She definitely goes slots in right underneath a strong. If she hits weakness, she's going to put out numbers. It's not even funny. And AoE wise, she can help you build DR like no one else can. Not really no one else, but like she'll put out like DR plus that. Granted, Yuina 2 will provide more hit count, while Kaden 3 will provide more damage and more destruction. So it really depends which one you value more. In this utility support category, I personally deem getting OD more than getting DR. In between Yuina, like on why I'm rating Yuina more than Kaden. You won't see Kaden 3 being used for OD looping, but Yuina 2 you will, for sure. So that's kind of like how I'm building this category here. Unless Shivan or Red wants to like note why they personally think that OD versus DR, which one they would value. They would value DR a little bit more. Then we can have a discussion. But I have a feeling you guys would agree with me on that fact.
No, I agree.
Also, Light just has less support than Dark.
Dark, you mean Thunder? I'm talking about Yuina too.
You're comparing her to. Oh, you're comparing her to that Yuina.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm talking about in the utility
Thunder,
section.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I will rate. By the way, I'm gonna note here. I will rate Yuina. I mean, Inori 2, as she was when she first came. Okay. I will not rate her as she was after her buff. Okay. I'm gonna put here, just so no one is confused. Pre-buff. I don't want people to be confused. Pre-buff Inori was a disappointment. I have never seen KSW so disappointed on a banner. That was the first time I saw him so disappointed in a banner. Why would you ever release a no element damage dealer in an elemental damage dealer like meta? It just made zero sense to everyone. And then her SP cost is 18. It just didn't make any sense. Pre-buff Inori SS2. I think, how many hits is it? Do you have a Do you have like a thing for that? A number on that, real quick?
I'm looking it up. It's 5 hits.
5 hit. Yeah, so it's not even good for that either. Um, I think she's just straight up worse than Irene, but better than Hisame. And she's really hard to use because she's 18 cost SP. It was just not fun. I
Yeah,
don't
at
play.
least Hisame could be used in dungeons because it's only like 11 cost.
Yeah.
And decent potency for clearing random nothings.
So I'm gonna place them in the same boat. For now, I'm putting Inori above Hisame, but realistically, they're about the same. If not, I'm pretty sure Hisame had more use than Inori 2 did, pre-buff. But I'm also showing you guys this to show you how different the Irene meta made things. Because now Inori SS2 is one of the best damage dealers out there, which is insane to say. But pre-buff, oh man, she was just absolutely garbage. It wasn't even funny. We are kind of quickly making our way. We have now Yanagi 2. Release Yanagi 2. Release Yanagi 2. We have the fact that she has the highest potency of heal for overhealing. Right? Oh, Maple, I didn't realize you were here. Beautiful. If Maple reacts to something or says something, let me know.
Can do.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So Yanagi 2, really good for healing and nothing else. Her overheal is rarely important, but as a healer is very potent. No idea why they released a healer that doesn't do anything but overheal. But personally, I don't see a point in this overheal. And so, like, I think she's better than Tama and Lisa in this sense, but at the same time, I personally still, excuse me, believe...
I would put her lower.
You put her lower?
Yeah, the
Dang.
thing is, her SS1 Generize is also an overheal, so it's like even less added value over using Risa, who has...
Well, you have to understand, during this time, Yanagi still did not have her overheal on
Tower
her SS.
upgrade.
Yeah, tower upgrade.
Oh,
And
okay.
even in
still,
EN,
Mhm.
she does not have it. Right now.
Mhm. But even then,
Yeah, Mia 2 is
it's
the true
like-
value of the banner, says Maple.
Mua came out at this point, right?
Mua's already out. Mua's here.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you want
Mua's-
overheal, then yeah, you
Mua's up here.
Just made Mua, and then they just made a bunch of healers who are not as good as Mua for some
Yeah.
reason. Why did they do that?
It's like they
Mua's
just...
ahead of her time.
So like I still value her here.
Yeah,
She's
in the
better,
future.
definitely better than this. It's like, feels bad.
Yeah, she's just one of those healers who party heals and then does nothing else, and they all feel
Like,
about the same. No matter
They're
who
all
they are.
strong healers, but it doesn't mean much when the only thing they do is heal.
Yeah.
Right?
And
That's
they're all so much worse than Mua.
that's why the
Chat gap.
it's not even one tier. It's freaking what, 1, 2.
And arguably,
2.5
all of those
tiers?
healers are still too high up. They could all move down.
Now, you're not wrong. Arguably too high. In fact, I might even move them down at the end, right? When we go through the list again and seeing if things should change. Because like a lot of the things that were already set, we can start moving things down. Do you want me to already move down all the healers? I can do that. Maple's looking
go
to
for
move
it.
all. Okay.
Move them down, says Maple.
Okay, we move them down. So already game moved down a tier. Tama, I think we will change how we view Tama here real quick. Actually, we don't, because we're just gonna look at her as a overall can do everything, but not the best at everything. That was her main thing. But you know what? I'll leave this Tama up here. I think as like how potent her heals are actually that like she's actually makes her leagues above these girls. That's just my opinion. But at the same time, they're also leagues under Mua. So I think this is pretty solid. of a movement, due to that factor alone. In fact, yeah, I think this is fine. Yeah, there we go. In fact, you know what? Since we're moving characters down anyways, you know, we'll move them down. We should add someone friendly to the list here. Just kidding. The Chia, the Chia healing. We'll add him here. Yeah.
Yeah, Chia can heal.
Chia can heal. She should be here too. In fact, actually, I think Seda is a worse healer than Chia is, if I'm not mistaken. Because Seda can only heal the front line.
Chia does get party healed at some point.
Chia gets party. When does Chia get party heal?
I don't think she has it at this point. I think she gets it a bit later.
Yeah.
She don't pay attention to this. No, that's funnel.
Akin says that we should add Maria to healer.
Than that,
Oh, it's still later than that? Okay.
Yeah, Chia still doesn't ever heal.
Well, we'll put Maria here. Maria can at least heal the whole party, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll put Maria here. But yeah. We need to add Chia here for the memes, okay? We need her for the memes. In fact, Free Duka heals better than Seika 2 does. Seika 2 really just needs to, you know, just chill, man. There we go. All the healers just feel Omega Bed.
Yeah, she has it on November 2023, so she'll
Idiot.
have it by the end of...
Idiot, at this point, we can presumably put her underneath Tama. Underneath Tama 4. At this point in time, I'll just move some of the notable S's and stuff. We can move these girls like down here. They're like here now. Aina at this point in time, I think she's like more down here. And Shiki, I also think Shiki is more in the 6 category at this point in the game. Don't think that's arguable. So we'll move on since we don't want to lose too much time. But we're on Mia SS2. One of the strongest debuffers, but at the time we didn't really talk about her much. I think the main reason why was because there were just so many options for debuffers that it didn't matter to pick her up or not. She's strong.
It was an elemental meta, and she didn't do elemental debuff.
Exactly. So, but is she still strong as a debuffer? I think she's incredibly potent as a debuffer. In fact, as a debuffer... Ooh, what? She didn't copy over? What? As a debuffer, I think she is as competent as Aina is. Granted, we haven't been building this debuffer rule between elemental and non-elemental yet, because there's just not enough debuffers to worry about that. While the buffer-wise, you can see that there has been a quite big discrepancy when it comes to buffers or not. But I think Mia 2 is very solid, very strong. The reason why she's strong is you can start setting up stuff without you needing OD, which is huge. Aina, on the other hand, she's the one who will generate the OD for herself. She needs it, but she can do it herself. So there's no point. Mia's 2 value, I think, only ever went up ever since her release. Right?
For sure.
The thing is that Mia 2, when she first came out, her value wasn't seen that highly because of the elemental defense downs and whatnot. But the more stuff that came out and everything, the more people started valuing the fact that she can single target fragile and defense down at the same time, which was huge.
Well, it's also the 2-turn and the half SP cost on the second use.
Exactly.
And I think the switch happened when they changed the score attack formula and they added the clock tower health stuff, where like having double of each debuff like as soon as you can actually affected the outcome.
Shivan, I think you're right on that fact. I didn't really think about that, but before that, Aina was definitely king. Just because she can get you to the OD that you need. Mia, on the other hand, you just didn't need that OD anymore. So definitely made things easier, made things nicer. I think this debuff area, we will start moving characters down more just because how potent the ones up here are, and we did move healers down, so that is a thing. But let's go back to the stuff before we start moving things. So we have Yuki 4. They're not gonna have the break thing before, because we just got the change. So she exists. In JP, I think she is way more viable now, mostly because Light actually has a spot for her on the team.
I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say way more valuable.
Way more value. No, she is way more valuable than she is at this era.
Oh, for sure.
like I say more valuable, I mean like triple the value feel. But she's also still really bad. If you want to see high numbers, you would use her. If you just care about clearing stuff, you would never see her. It's just not a thing. So that's a hard pass. She's just not good. Her main issue is the super break mechanic they just introduced with her. It doesn't work how you think it does. You have to hit the enemy before they're after they're broken. They have to be already broken before she uses her EX for the super break to be inflicted, which provides 300% more destruction rate max value. So your max value will go from 300% to 600%, or from 999% to 1299%. The main issue was she's a breaker who has a DP modifier who's meant to hit HP? What's the meaning of that? So, and not only that, she has no means of increasing destruction rate. She can increase the maximum, but that's her whole kit. And you can't build her as damage because she's not going to be dealing damage. She's going to be hitting the HP to increase the max destruction rate. So, absolutely terrible kit. Absolutely terrible concept of a kit. Not good. And, even if you were to increase the rate, it just didn't feel good enough. And so, pass. Not very good. Now we're going to Maple's favorite, the Oshima girls. We'll start off with the weaker of the two, Nina 2.
The light one.
The light one.
Isn't that a coincidence that the light one is usually the weaker of the two on the banner? How strange is that?
No. Minori is. Sorry, I had to put it out there. Minori's a very sad girl. Very unloved by the dev team and the community. But yes, it is very interesting. Anything of the light sense usually is the weaker of the two on the banner. Granted, on over here, that's not the case. But Nina 2. Honestly, when I first... I've used her a couple times. She's just not been useful. Her kit really doesn't make sense. So her SS1 is a blaster, single target. Really strong, really good at what she does. And the best part of SS1 Nina is that she's not conditional. Unlike most blasters who are conditional on how much destruction they do, is conditional. She herself is not conditional. So very strong unit when it comes to that. But her SS2 is AoE. And you don't get her HP modifier. She also provides herself with light crit damage, if I'm not mistaken.
She does, yep.
And so, she is the first one who can actually do it, just like Summer Yuina. Her main issue was her condition was just so hard to get, it just wasn't worth it. You need 200% DR, which sounds manageable until you realize that all of her blaster skills that she has are single target. She really doesn't work. Her common skill, which you would assume would be a blaster, like if it was a blaster skill, which it is, by the way, you would assume that it's AoE just like her EX skill is. It's not. It's actually single target, which makes her just worse, just straight up bad, and not fun to use. She has to rely on her team to make her work well, which makes her extremely awkward. I would personally rather use Ruka 2, even though Ruka 2's damage cap is so much lower than Nina 2. It's just so much lower, but she is so much easier to use and makes more sense. And it also has 12 hit count for OD, which is insane. I personally find her more clunky than Monanyan 1. That's my personal opinion after trying to use her multiple times. It's just not fun. You have any thoughts on this, Shivan? I don't know if you've ever used Nina 2.
I don't know if I have her or not. I think I got her recently, but I've never used her.
Ah, well, that makes sense. I've tried using her multiple times. It just
all makes sense.
Yeah, her kit just doesn't make sense. Would I still find her more useful than Carol and Hisame too? She actually has really good potencies, just really clunky to use. I personally would value her under Monaka, but like in a similar tier. Very clunky to use, very awkward, but strong. Has very strong potential. Just getting the potential just really weird and really hard. Next we have is Isuzu 2. She only keeps getting better. Isuzu's a monster. In fact, I think Isuzu's the best Oshima in terms of the value of her next version having a common skill or something, which just helps her other versions. Isuzu 2 is cracked. She has the strongest defense down in the game, and then she introduces the concept of DP defense down. DP defense down, if you can't understand what that means, it's literally just defense down, but only when there's DP on the enemy. So she makes it so then any kind of DP is butter. It doesn't exist. Very strong in that sense, and it's not just that, it's AoE. And if you look at her numbers, usually AoE means weaker defense down. No. Her numbers are so high that even at that they're better than single target. It's so awkward to like just look at it and just be like, oh, that's nuts. Her DP defense down isn't just anything to scoff at. It's a whopping 80% to 140%. It's so ridiculous. And I think she is the first one to have a defense down that did not have damage attached to it. Didn't hit the enemy even once. So without getting any OD, you now have this massive defense down that her skill level will actually scale off of that. And on a fire team, she was even more cracked if you had Isuzu 1. So I personally we're just gonna value her as if she is not fire elemental, but if she was, she'd be even better. She's easily above Fubuki. I don't know if I want to scale her above Aina or Mia, but for sure, I'm gonna place her right here for now. We need to move Fubuki. In fact, we should move all the debuffers down one at this point, I think. I don't know how much you guys feel about that, but I think for now, for visual sense, let's move down everyone a whole entire tier, and then
more room for Isuzu.
Make more room because she deserves an 8 slot with Aina and Mia.
I think she doesn't have fragile at that point.
She doesn't.
Not for a long time.
If she does, she'd be above them maybe for debuffing strictly.
Yeah. She's just so strong, and not only that, her her EX skill only costs 10 SP, which is super cheap. It's insanely cheap. It's not even funny.
Yep, very easy to stack.
I pitied this banner. I remember this banner. I think this is the first banner I pitied. It was very, very sad. But she's been very useful for me, so it's like I'm not complaining. Very useful. And I think the gap of these three versus the rest is pretty much what spells it out. Just like how Mua is basically leagues above all the healers. These four were basically leagues above all the rest of the debuffers, which really tells you just how strong fire was back then, because they had, like, look at this. It's no element, technically also fire, and no element. This is how strong fire was. Fire is just insane, still insanely strong. Even and Thunder's only strong if you have Aoi 2. Other than that, Thunder doesn't seem that strong. In fact, if you didn't have Tama 3, Thunder also wasn't considered that strong either back then. So, yeah, that's just massive stuff. Hey, look. Shivan. Look at this. It's your banner. It's your banner. We got the one and savior, Adel 3 here. You want to talk about Adel 3?
That's the dark one, right?
Yeah, that's the dark one. That's the cheater. That's the ultimate cheater one.
I don't know. You just attack with her once and everything dies.
That doesn't explain anything. You gotta explain why she just attacks everything once and everything dies. Come on, man.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, I thought you use her all the time.
Do that?
What do you mean?
I know she has a high DR.
Okay. I can explain her kit. Okay. I thought you'd be able to do this. Just be like this. She's just a cheater. She is the biggest cheater, damage dealer, of all time. I don't think there's anyone who cheats as much as she does. First of all, her you already know about her large funnel that she could give herself. Her normal skill and the common skill in this version does absolutely nothing. Not worthwhile. Ignore that. It's bad. Unlike her ice version, which provides ice like skill up, her dark version provides nothing. However, her dark EX skill just costs, I think, 1 more SP. Costs 15 SP if not mistaken. And they add the dark skill enhance to her EX skill. But it's the only skill which has damage and an enhance. And when you level up the skill, it levels up both of them. There's no other skill in the game that does this cheating thing. Okay? So, skill levels typically don't matter too much. On Adel 3, skill level matters a lot. It is incredibly important for that. And that's absolute cheating levels of, like, increasing her damage potency, increasing, like, what she can do. It's not fair.
Oh, she also gets buffed if she hits weakness in the DR and the damage.
Yep. I mean, all the Adels feel that way. It's like Ice is the same way. So, her damage potency is just insane. Her DR increase is insane. Her LB3 is not as funny as Adel 2, which is increasing. Adel 2's is increasing DR by 30% that she does. This one's just the normal 25% extra skill damage, which is like nothing because it's like added to your regular enhances and all that stuff. But the fact that you can level up her EX skill and it also levels up her buff to herself, which that's not the only cheating part that they put in and they left alone. Most of the time when a damage dealer buffs themselves, they give themselves the weaker version of the elemental buff. She gets the stronger version. Wow. Thanks, Meow. No. I'm gonna say no. So, Dark may not have the best debuffers and buffers and stuff, but Adel 3 is a massive cheater. Easily slots next to her ice counterpart. Tier 9. I don't think arguable. In fact, I think the only arguable thing is she is better than her S2 counterpart. Now, Shivan, I'll let you do the honors. Which one do you think is more valuable at this point in the game?
Well, dark, because it's dark and not ice.
Dang. Hate, but Dark didn't have their stuff together yet too.
Yeah, they don't have it.
Yeah, they didn't.
There's no Aina, there's no Tsukasa for Dark.
Yeah, not yet. They're both both Ice and Dark were a little I think Ice was easier to pull off than Dark was, but as a standalone piece, technically Adel 3 is better than Adel 2. Right? As a standalone piece, but as a full elemental, I think they're equal. Because of how weak Dark was. Nowadays, Adel 3 Dark is just so much better. It's just straight up better than Adel Ice, because Ice is kind of rocky right now, in my opinion.
Yeah. One day I dreamed that we would have an Adel for every single element, because she just kind of does the same thing, but in different elements.
Except for fire. Except for fire. Come on, except for fire. Come on, man.
But we finally got it. We got an Adel in every single element, and her name is Diva Ruka. And she's also good.
Oh my god. Okay, Union 2. Okay. I will put in 2 parts to Union 2. We will have a Union 2 with SS1, and I will actually add in here without SS1. Right? Without one. Without SS1. Okay? So, with SS1, I think it's valuable to say, since we're only looking at Limit Break 1, right next to herself. In fact, better than herself, right? Because you get an extra skill, okay? I think this is not arguable. I think this is how it should be, right? Union, in my opinion, more important than Seika 2 is, in general. Union with SS1, SS2 with SS1, incredible. However, if you get rid of Union, SS1, I think she is somewhere around. Actually, wait. Why would I put them here when technically she should be just right here? Why did I do that? Yeah, this is fine. Just do it this way. There you go. And crit was still valuable, just still really hard to come by. I think this is fine. I still personally think Yotaha is better than Union 2. Just because the SP costs a lot less. Union 2 without Union 1. I think she basically houses herself under Tsukasa 3. Somewhere around here, right? What are your thoughts on this, you guys?
Yeah, probably in tier 8, I'd say.
Bottom of tier 8 with Seika 1? I think so.
Yeah,
about
she
there.
can stack crit damage twice, but that's like about basically what Zone does.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Okay.
She doesn't have other utility, really. Well, she's her defense down.
One of my favorites, Mona 2. How much experience have you guys gotten with Mona 2?
surprisingly little considering I have her LB3. I just don't use that.
LB3. Oh, dude.
I've heard LB0.
LB3, yeah.
I've heard
LB1. She's
LB1.
like the last good lifestyle we ever got.
She is the last
Haven't got any
light
more good
damage dealer.
lifestyles.
In fact, she is probably the best light damage dealer.
Yeah, she is. She still holds up pretty well.
And she holds up really well. In fact, there are many times where it's not even light weakness, and she was still hitting the 1 mil that JP needs. Insane.
She's quite good.
I placed her right next to Unit 3. hands down. I can't see it too arguably. She is a little bit harder to use than Conan 3, but because of her damage potential, I think she deserves a spot above Conan 3. She also makes her own SS1 version viable again, like actually decently viable, by putting her generalized ult onto Monanyan 2, because now it's actually easy to build the tokens. The only part that's kind of yikes is that Mona 1 does not actually have an HP modifier, while Mona 2 actually has a HP modifier. So Mona...
She's still the only token user who gets the HP modifier on their ultimate too, I
Yep.
think. No one else gets it.
Yep. Let me think. I think you're right.
Because new
Yeah.
Ichigo doesn't get it.
He
and
doesn't
she's an
get it.
attacker.
Yeah. But granted of that, her base value is pretty low.
Very low.
But don't let that confuse you. Her damage is insane.
Yeah. And it helps her stack her tokens with her extra turns if she needs to. So
Exactly.
the SP cost doesn't. It ends up being about even. She's
Okay.
a DPS who doesn't mind having a cheap ultimate.
Now we forgot to note her ult cost is 11. It is incredibly low. It's incredibly cheap. You can easily be at 16 SP. Use her. I think it's an S. Is it from her S style or is it from her SS? The one that provides extra turn and token. Yeah, S style provides token to self, 2 tokens, and then and provides an extra turn. Her only thing that she needs to do is have an extra turn to get the HP modifier. That's her only condition, which is very easy. You just need 16 SP.
Considering most DPS are paying 15 SP for their ultimate anyway, she's paying 16 SP for the extra turn and ultimate.
Hisame 3. Limit Break 1 was very clunky, very hard to use. They finally released a breaker which has the mechanic of, hey, if I break, you get something out of it. When she breaks, all allies get plus 8 SP. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, her Limit Break 3 also provides SP to herself.
Yep, it's the start of
right?
turn 5 SP.
Start of turn, yeah.
Start of battle 5 SP.
The other really good thing is her regular common skill also provides herself with Thunder Enhance. And it's not the weaker one, it's actually the stronger one. So she's very strong, very potent in that regard. In fact, in JP, I would still consider her very potent because it's hard to stack 2 Thunder damage ups. Because the only means of doing that is Tama. And Tama 3 is never used anymore. So Hisame 3 definitely is much more viable in this case than Prior, but because you have to realize that in JP she wasn't really used because we didn't have the extra stuff that everyone else has. It was still hard to get good gear. It was still hard to get everything, so we did value her a lot less. I think EN players can see a lot of fun play with her because you would actually have the stats to use her. At LB1, unlike us, which we did not. So I personally think that because you'd be actually able to use her kit, she would at least be in this tier here. just assuming the fact that we are able to reach the potencies that we need to reach to break, which if you are in JP, that wouldn't be the case at LB1. It'd be very hard. You'd actually need LB2, if not 3. I think you can easily hit those numbers at LB1 in EN on her time. So this is why I'm placing her here. Any thoughts?
No, I've never used her before, along with other breakers.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but I would have put her like. Well, actually, yeah, I think that makes sense. Like, if you can get her to break, which costs a lot of SP, but she gives everyone SP, but because it's expensive to get the buffs on her, it's a little hard to use.
Yeah, so that's why she is underneath the girls who basically do not really need anything, but Chidori is still not that useful unless AoE, and definitely above the Kanens. So that's why I slot her here. I think it makes the most sense. Right? Now to the fun banners. This is where the fun begins, really. Let's not talk about Shadow first. We'll talk about Maria SS2. So Maria SS2 is just her SS1, but Thunder and AoE. She is still the only unit in the game that can cleanse, attack down. Is it useful? Not really. However, it is good to note that she is good because she can do that and ignore those mechanics from a boss. I personally know my experience with her is from Limit Break 0, and let me tell you, bad. In JP. EN, however, has more see more uses for her because they actually have the stats. Unlike JP players back in the day, we just didn't have access to those stats to keep her alive while she's in the front line. They made her a lot easier to build tokens, and so if you were to use Maria SS1 ult on her, she actually can get to those 10 stacks relatively fast. So from my experience and from my tell, you 100% need her to be Limit Break 1 to even think about using her. And in EN environment, I would say that she is incredibly strong and can make anyone like laugh at, for instance, the orb boss, the one with the twins. Dude, she laughs at them all day. She just murders them like they're butter, like they're nothing. It's not even funny. And for score attack, if there's 2 enemies, she just will obliterate them because she's a token user as well, just like her SS1 is. But unlike her SS1, at Limit Break 3, she does not have the +5 tokens, but that's regardless of the fact. She's just incredibly potent. And I guess I should explain why she has easier time is because getting tokens is because before you would have to use only skills that say +2 tokens per cast. She can gain more than that as long as he gets a heal. Like she heals. If I remember correctly, it's like what she healed in the Vanguard or something. Then she will gain a token. Am I correct on this, Red? I haven't really used her.
I thought it was just when anyone gets healing.
No. It has to be, I think, in the Vanguard.
It has to do with Vanguard,
yeah.
Right.
I don't remember if she has to be in the Vanguard while someone gets a heal or something like those lines.
Definitely doesn't need to be, from my experience, unless I'm imagining that. Let's read this.
Yeah, I haven't like looked into her kit too much because I remember it was just a little bit like weirdly worded when I first tried to use her. But I do remember her common skill that she gets is a heal over time, which is really nice because it can proc her getting tokens.
About Vanguard.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay.
It doesn't, but I think it doesn't actually build tokens, even though it doesn't say it shouldn't.
All I remember is that her common skill should be able to proc it. Should be able to proc her heals. multiple times.
You can get a bunch of tokens off of it just from one use.
So she's actually very easy to build tokens with, which makes it so then if you have Maria SS1, you would easily slot and generalize that onto SS2. And if SS2 is, high in LB, she'll be able to survive while in the front and just murder everything. And so I would easily slot her at Limit Break 1 at the very least. In EN community-wise, somewhere near the top side over here.
Yeah.
Due to that reason alone.
And probably a little bit higher because she's Thunder. Actually, that doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter here. I think she is definitely above Yuki 3, so I think about here makes sense. In the EN environment, if I'm not mistaken. Her heals are not the most potent. She's a meh healer. I would put her probably lower than Tama, but probably around, I don't know, Disa. I think right here is fine. Very weak healer, but very potent in damage. She's more like a secondary healer than anything else. And if you have Aoi in your team, if you have Aoi in your team, then she at least, can just alleviate some damage. But that's about it. Nothing crazy. Now we go to the Seika 2 of 2023. What do I mean by that? Seika 2 in the first year of JP basically broke the game. She was so strong and so potent that she was meta. That's why most people in EN has re-rolled for her. It makes sense. Sharo is that for 2023 in JP. People were like flabbergasted. People were like running crazy. If you were stuck on hard mode of 4.1, she was your card to clear that.
For free, basically.
For free. If you have her, you clear hard mode 4.1. If you didn't have her, you needed to be somewhat of a whale to do so. Now for EN, if you have her and and they come out with the hard mode for 4.1, you will obliterate it like it's nothing. Even before that, I still believe you'll obliterate it like it's nothing. But she will do so more so the case. So I personally, in this case, value her over Megu. I don't personally value her as much as I value the ones up here. Mostly because her issue is that she alone can't really do much. She really is needed, like she really needs outside help. But she really does a lot and really does everything. Best debuffer for sure. I don't think you can really argue about that. Gets rid of resistances, applies a weakness. You got the crazy aspect that she can actually be your blaster because she can easily just dish out DR from her S skill, common skill. She does a lot. But I personally value the heals plus the Mind Eye that Mua provides. And Yun is, well, basic human rights. And you also need the human rights to crit, right? So these girls are just very valuable. And so I can't put her in the same level as them at the moment. But overall, if you do have a Thunder team, she is very, very good. Just that these girls can be basically used on every team and be very, very good. In fact, just as potent as Sharo 2. Sharo 2 just allows you to use Thunder like it's nothing. I will note that Thunder at this point is, people would argue, is like, oh, incredibly strong and everything. The problem with Thunder is that it's pretty expensive to play Thunder. You actually have to invest quite a lot to play Thunder. You not only need to make sure you have Aoi 2, which is unseemingly like, oh yeah, of course, but you also need her SS1. If you don't have Aoi SS1, then SS2 is just a lot more clunky, right? Shadow 2 is of course needed. Union 1 100% needed. Union 2, however, up here. Union 2, however, is not needed and necessary, but a nice addition. At this point in time, before Tama 5 is out, Tama 3 is basically essential for that team, or else your multipliers actually look really bad. Oddly enough. So there isn't very much room for who else you would add to the team or anything like that, because the team's pretty set in stone. If you don't have that particular team, you're looking at the similar damage numbers as any other squad. So if you have Sharo 2, but you don't have Aoi 2, it feels really bad. And if you have Aoi 2 and Shadow 2, but you don't have Aoi 1, it also feels kind of bad. Because in order for Shadow to do her DR, you need to protect her. And you need to protect her by having Aoi 1's EX skill. So if you don't have all the parts, it's just not very functional. And so it's kind of hard to tell people that, yes, Shadow 2 is so good, Aoi 2 is so good, you should pull for them. When if you are willing to skip for any of these parts, all of a sudden it falls apart. So it's one of those things that you should be very careful and wary about of what you're pulling on, if you have the parts or not, and if you know you have the parts. So that's just a random segue, but if Red or Shivan has any thoughts on what I just said, of course, feel free to speak out. But that's just my personal thoughts on the Thunder and Shadow 2 meta stuff.
Sharu 2 seemed a lot better to me when she released than she does to me now, even though not too much changed.
Well, I think there were just so many Thunder DPS options that, like, even in free to play, you could make a team with Sharo and some DPS and beat like any content with it.
Yeah, there is that aspect too. It's just that you couldn't do like the super high top stuff. Granted, everyone will have the stats nowadays in EN because they have charms, they have all this. Because remember, us JP players, we got charms.
Yep.
Right when
pretty late.
After this patch, actually.
Just before 2nd anniversary.
Yeah, it was pretty late. So we don't have the stats. We also got M levels during that time. We got charms and M levels near the same time.
That's all been out for almost a year now?
Yep.
Crazy.
The S levels the S levels are finally first anniversary of S levels are now for JP.
I'm still working on them.
I don't even have max level. I don't even have max S levels or max levels in general. Just like I keep getting dupes, which makes the max level go up.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't have. I just ignore it. Whatever. Oh, now we're going to the Christmas banners, the lovable Christmas banners. So, Akari 2. Personally, I don't think she's that great as a damage dealer. You can make her work. You can force her to work. But she is more of a utility support than she is a damage dealer. Granted,
yeah, she's a very unique utility support.
Yeah. Now, in EN, so unlike JP, you actually are not exactly required, but unless you have the top of the cream of the crop meta supports, you basically need her to be Limit Break 2 to make her work. In EN, at this time, I think they will be fine with Limit Break 1, but not anymore, because at this time, they would have already caught up with JP. Right?
Yeah, they pretty much caught up.
So, maybe I should lower Hisame a little bit. Because we don't know if she can actually hit it. I do know that Akari will have a harder time hitting the threshold than Hisame is. But I think Akari, I think I should put in here. Should I even put anything for her? because like I feel like she's one of the weird ones where if you can actually use her properly, she's like up here, and if you can't, she's down here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Very feast or famine. Either she breaks and you're winning, or she doesn't break and you're struggling and not using her on your team.
Yeah. So that's kind of the issue that I'm looking at. On try to put her in her place in this tier list. Do you think I should just put in, like, awkwardly as it is for this specific one, just say LB2 plus? Would it be odd?
Yeah, I think that's like the border between her being playable
Like, it's just the border of
and
her
needing
being
a lot of
playable, like
yeah.
actually viable. Because you have
Right,
to
right.
understand, like, under LB2, if you're just LB1, I do, like, you know how much Rem has screamed out saying, like, you need more LBs than LB1 because he just couldn't get her to work at LB1. And then I'm not going to say how much he spent, but he spent more than my paycheck to get her to LB3. um, yeah, I think this is what we'll do. We'll have two Akari twos. We'll have one that's um just LB1, which I will put as probably hard to break with. I'll place her like at viable because you can probably break with her, but you have to invest a lot to make it happen, which makes me not want to. Like she is still viable, just very hard to use. Unlike LB2, which I think she easily fits either right under, if not right next to Aina. I think she just fits right here. Um, Crazy amounts of OD, 150% if she breaks. They don't have the upgrade. I mean the update on OD earrings yet. So she's still not super crazy like she is in JP, where she gets an extra 2 hits worth of OD, just from breaking. But it's still insane. Um, so I think this is a correct placement for her. So, we are now finished and up to date to where we're. Oh, we're not actually finished. I lied. We still have Misato too. One of, if not, and I'll be honest. I didn't really care about Nikaido, and then I saw Nikaido too, and I thought she was hella cute.
I think that's a pretty common reaction. At least in
Bro.
my experience.
I mean, her event was like whatever. It was okay. I thought her SS1 her outfit was cool and all, but like she wasn't cool. And I saw her SS2 and I was like, oh man, she's hella cute. I remember this banner, by the way. I didn't understand how hard it was for Akari to break things, and so I rolled on the paid banner, and I got 2 Nikaido 2s.
What the? That's really lucky.
And
Wait,
back
from the paid GSS?
But yeah, from the paid GSS. Okay, I didn't pull on their banner at all. Okay, because I was not convinced that this was a good banner back then. Ice was still really weak, one of the weakest elements, and we don't need.
AoE was still pretty bad. Yeah.
AoE was considered bad because the only place you can use the AoE was dungeon, and sure, some score attacks had AoE, but it was very small. I think we only had like 2 or 3 at this time. And then Akari 2 looked much easier and more convincing to use in general over Nikaido 2 because of single target bosses. So I was actually super devastated when that happened. I remember that. It was so devastated. And then 2 months after that, that first 1 mil requirement score attack. Do you remember that? Where everyone was crying about it because it was so hard to reach 1 mil back then. And then
Doesn't ring a bell.
It was back when the fight was Yuina plus Tezuka fight. I don't remember if I don't think it was February. I think it was like more like March. Never mind. But
Oh yeah, now I remember.
remember how like people were just super upset on that essay change and how 1 mil became like the Black Narvi trophy and all that, and everyone's like, oh, but like we never invested into AoE because we never expect an AoE boss, and this was the first 1 mil. And it was super hard, and then the two ways to beat that, if I remember correctly, was either you had Misato 2 or you had Yuina 3. I don't think there was anyone else who hit high enough because of the weaknesses were ice and the next week was dark or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head. This was on, I think, the Aina patch. The pirate Aina patch, if I'm not mistaken, is
No,
when it
I
happened.
think this was a lot. I think Pirate I know was later than that,
It was
but
later than that.
everything else
I
was
don't
better.
remember.
I
All I
just
remember was
feel
it
like
was one of the ones that people in
mhm,
the community were just like crying about, and then people were like, wait, Misato 2 is so good. But we were
mhm,
all trashing on her, saying, man, her kit would be good if we had AoE content to use her at, because she has crazy hit count. She provides crazy
mhm,
numbers for her SP cost. She can be, she's super self-reliant. I mean, so, like self-sufficient. She gives herself with her common skill, ice attack, just like Adel does. So you can just stack on her twice. You don't need a buffer for that. And she could also provide herself normal skill enhance, the stronger version, which is insane, to say the least. So she could
mhm,
already give herself all the attack buffs that she needs. She only needs crit, right? Um, which is very, very difficult to like replicate. I don't think anyone else really has that kit in them. So she became the cornerstone for looping. So when you see loopers, this was the girl to do it. She was the one. That's where looping kind of started, like becoming a thing. Just because, well, Misato 2 was just so good at doing that. I think, what is it, like what, 12 hits plus 3 if you're an OD, 15 hits. It's crazy. Um, where would I
Yep,
put
12 plus
Misato 2?
3.
She is one of the easiest ones. Unlike her SS1, feels bad. She is one of the easiest ones to pull off. I actually think she is at the top of AoE at this time. You can loop with her. You can do. She's very self-sufficient. She has. She has the large funnel built into her kit. I don't think it's hard to say that she is either equal to Mona and Yuina, if not higher than them. Incredibly potent, incredibly powerful. But outside of that, like, she's a damage dealer. She doesn't do anything else. She's also hella cute, but we don't. That's about it. um, what are your thoughts on outside of what I've said, Red and Shivan?
Yeah, she was pretty good. This is one of the rare banners where it looked like one unit was good and the other one was bad, and it looked like Akari was good and she was bad, but then it was reversed. She was actually the best one of the banner.
I feel like
It was actually a Misato banner all
specifically,
along.
I think there's like there's it's not just that there wasn't much AoE content. I think there was zero ice AoE content at that
There
point,
was zero
like
ice
ever.
AoE content
Yep, all
ever.
the way up until her. Poor Sumomo too.
She's also
By the
the.
time she
So
hit ice AoE content, she was already outclassed so severely.
True.
So severely. It's not even close.
True. Okay, so we
Because her
so
have.
power in
because of that, I
Misato's
feel
20
like I
extra
wouldn't put
hits.
her that high up.
You wouldn't put
Maybe
her
like
that high
eight.
up.
No.
I would still put her high up because I actually
Yeah,
commonly
that is
used her.
specifically AoE.
This is specifically AoE, by the way.
Yeah, so it doesn't really care that there's not much AoE
Yeah,
content, it
this is
just
just
cares that
comparing
they're
her.
AoE damage
Yep.
dealers.
There's also the thing that I've actually actively used her just as an OD generator. As funny as it is. Um, when there is multi-target bosses, I have brought her into the team just to build OD and OD loop. She alone can do it by herself. So I have like a dark team, and I just add her to the team just so I can loop with Aina too.
But that's still not like it wasn't viable, right? Without Aina too and Chidolu's Evo skill.
But she has it
Well, I mean,
already.
here's the thing, right?
Oh,
It's
she
like there
does?
is,
Yeah,
Oh,
she
yeah,
has it
Chidori
in
already has it.
Ian
Yep.
right now.
Yeah, she has an EN already. That's why she's 5. If she wasn't, she'd be like 4,
oh.
right?
I need to look at the clock tower.
Yeah. So clock tower, I already have it upgrading, so you can always just check my notes here. If you're ever wondering, because I've broken it down, so like you see, I already have a breakdown. So anyone above this black line, it we already have, right? So we have all the garbage. We have Nina, which is pretty good. In fact, this makes her the best blaster in the game right now. Um, then we have these two, which pretty much do nothing. Um, it's like nice to have, but you really don't need it right now. And then, to be honest, Ichigo is good, but in the EN climate, she's not good. Just because, um, Tama 3 exists, so like is prominent in the meta right now. So this buff means nothing, but like in JP, it means a lot now. Just because you can't get double Thunder buff unless you're running Tama 3, right? And technically, Sumomo 1 is really good in JP because you can just give that to Sumomo 3, Limit Break 3, and deal thunder damage, like incredibly high thunder damage. But that's about it. These two are good. I don't think anyone can argue about it. Currently in EN. And then we don't have the rest of them, right? So all the rest of these, we don't have any of them. Granted, I've gotten so many questions on Koju 1. Koju 1 on why it says low high and all that stuff. All of it has to do with, is she going to be released with Koju 3? If you have Koju 3, it's high. If you do not have Koju 3, I don't think she's good enough to be used on her own. Either she's a Thunder defense downer, I really don't think so. I don't know, just personal opinion, but of course this whole sheet is my personal opinion. None of this is like set in stone. So now we're gonna go back to I'm not gonna call it 6 months. I'm just gonna call it Akari patch. I think that makes more sense, right? Instead of saying anything else. So we will now move things that were already set in stone, depending on if it makes sense where they stand. So we're gonna go look at tier 10s first, right? I think at least the first row tier 10s are solid. I don't think they move.
They still
They're
held
very
up very
solid.
well.
Very held up very well. The second part of tier 10 also, I think, holds up pretty well. I should probably just put in here with
SS1.
SS1 because people can't see this note, and I totally forgot people can't see the note. If I were to put her without SS1, you're probably around like here, right?
Like bottom of 9, yeah.
Maybe like, I think she's better than Chie. But
Bottom of 9. No, not good enough to be bottom of 9.
I don't think so. I really don't
I
think
don't
so.
know. I used her a lot without her SS1 ult, and she felt fine to me. So
I
maybe
mean,
that's just personal experience.
from my personal experience of using her with and without, it's like night and day, dude. Especially if the rest of your lineup isn't up to scuff. But EN
She's
should
still
be.
getting
So
enough
I guess
tokens to
I guess EN is up to scuff. So we'll just put her here.
I don't know. She just uses her skill a few times, and she'll get there.
Yeah, and she provokes, so you don't really need her SS1 skill. So it'd still have everyone survive if it's like a mainly single target attacking enemy.
Yeah. we'll just assume that this is. I mean, we also need to assume this is EN, right? And EN, it's not as important to block AOE comparatively to JP, which we really needed it. All these places are so screwed over. Okay. So yeah, that's true. So this is our placement. So tier 9. I think Aoi still stays at the top of tier 9. Especially as a defender. Megu. So when we first put Megu here, we didn't think about we assumed that people didn't have Megu 2. In this list, I will now assume that you do have Megu 2 and she still stays here. In this climate. Aina 1, I think, is solid. I think she still stays here. I don't think there's a reason why you would move her from this slot. Yeah, I don't see it. The Adels, I think, can stay where they are as well, as we said before, and she's new, so I think this top of tier 9 also stays strong. Bottom of tier 9, so we have Mari 2. Do you think Mari 2 should be valued in the same slot as who we have in tier 9? I think so. She has one stack of Mind Eye. She's really fast. She can make healing really, really fast. It costs, what, 10 SP? Or
10 HP.
Yeah, to ult. Very, very, very strong, very easy to use. If you pair her with Skasa, you can pretty much murder shit really fast, too, if you wanted to. And then Akari, we already placed her there originally, so I think that's fine as it is. These 3 damage dealers are, I think, fine where they are. I think Muddy is a lot easier to use at Limit Break 1 because, well, we're talking about Limit Break 1 Muddy with EN gear. I think she's fine where she's at with that. And everyone else is new, so I think we can keep that. I don't think anyone needs to move. Tier 8. We don't have anyone here in the top of tier 8 for any of the other things, but we do have Aina for debuffing. Granted, of course, her support for OD is insane, so she's up here, but she's also a very potent debuffer. I still think this stays where she is. She can both do defense down and fragile. In this case, she can do fragile AoE and fragile single target. Granted, as a debuffer, I think she is weaker than Mia. So I think we should move the 2. I think you guys can agree with me on that. Because Mia's is single target, and she can still do, and it's more potent, while Aina's is more like AoE oriented. Granted, they're kind of more equal to each other anyways, but I think for the sake of more boss thinking and stuff, this is more relevant, personally. What are your thoughts?
No, that looks good. I'm just thinking, should Aina go down a little bit more because we're starting to see debuffers who can set up without overdrive reliance, and Aina just needs so many turns to get her debuffs out because she's doing 1 per skill.
Yeah, you know, that's actually a very solid thing, but Isuzu still doesn't have her fragile.
Nope.
So I think she can still stay where she's at.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah, that's fine.
For now. Technically, we can put Ichiko in this debuffer lineup as well, but she only provides 2-turn fragile, which I would value here. So we're just gonna place her there for now, for fun. Anyways,
okay.
Chie, I think, is still in this spot. I don't think she moves. Still very solid as a damage dealer. In this case, she can also work as a healer and all that stuff, so she's actually very, very strong. People just never really used her because, well, they didn't roll on her banner. She was after Angel Beats, after Mua and Yotsuha, so no one had quartz for her. I remember that being a thing. No one had quartz for her, so no one really rolled on her banner. So not really seen, but she is still very insanely strong, even to this day, insanely strong. Um, I mean, in current day, Ichiko 2, I think, is better than Chia 2 if you have Ruka 5. Right? Because I think she has better multipliers. I think Ichiko 2 has better multipliers than Chia 2
Yeah,
does.
sounds right to me.
Which is very sad to say. Karen
Yeah, but
and
Ruka
Maria are
changes up a
new.
lot
I
of stuff.
think they should stay where they are. So now we'll go to bottom of 8. We have
Oh, I found the answer to that Maria token thing.
what?
Maria's token
Yep.
thing about being in Vanguard or not.
Yep.
So on the first use of her skill, she gets 3 tokens the following turn, and then she gets 1 token every turn after, regardless of who's in the Vanguard or backline.
Okay. Sounds good.
So
Sounds good.
she gets a total 5 tokens off of her regen skill
And she can
per
just
use.
per use, which means she can just
Yeah. So
toss
she can
it
use it
out.
twice to get 10 tokens.
Yep. Very cheap, very easy to hit,
Okay.
just like Aoi is. This is why Thunder was also strong. Haha. Anyways, Seika 1. Um, strong.
She
But
still has the only Thunder field.
the only Thunder field. Union 2, we recently placed her here. I think these girls can stay.
Yep.
Ichiko 2, only up here a little bit higher because, well, you have more choices than Ichiko 1 in defending. You have an option to now break the enemy.
That is a form of defending. That's true.
That's a form of defending. You stop them from
It
dealing
blocks
damage.
them for a turn.
Does that make them a better defender? Barely.
Yeah.
If anything, if there was a slot as beside Ichiko 1 here, I would just place her there instead. But there aren't enough defenders to talk about that, and so we just chillin', you know. She'll just chill here. Oops, that's the wrong one. Now we go to Isuzu 2, the craziest, defense debuffer we've seen in ages and forever. Even to this day, I think she has the craziest numbers, especially because now you can have AoE fragile with her, which is honestly so bonkers. It confuses. I think she stays. She's new here, anyways. Now Yuki 3, I think her value does go down here. These girls are way more potent than she is. And her real use is not even in dealing damage in single target situations or even just AoE bosses. It's more so stuck in dungeon.
Yeah.
And so
We're starting
I
to see.
would value her even less than Luca 2. In fact, I would probably value her at around here at this point, if like one of these slots here. I can't really put a finger on being better than Nina or Mona Nyan 1, but like at
They
least
both have
down
more options
here.
than she does.
Yeah, I'm also kind of agreeing. I think we knock her down a notch. Granted, she's not bad. I think she is one of the better Yuki styles. In fact, I would argue it's her like second, if not third, like second or third best style. And that means that's saying a lot, by the way, because like her SS6, her SS3, and SS5 are all solid, but 5 feels a little clunky nowadays comparatively to when they first released, and 3 is, well, only used in dungeon. And really, I think she's still one of the better dungeoners to this day, which is saying a lot. So, yeah, I think this is fine. We have our list here for changing up our 8s. I think our 8s are done. We're now done with our 8s. We're nearly done with our listing. As I fix up the list a little bit because it looks ugly. Boop boop. Okay. Strong. Tier 7. I think this still stays where the strong stays. I don't think strong needs to move. We have nothing in buffers. Feels bad. We have nothing in elementals. Also feels bad. We have Ichigo and Seda. Ichigo only is above
Why
Seda.
isn't
Because
Sarah SS2 really a buffer?
Elemental buffer.
Oh, is that a different column?
yeah,
Oh, I thought that
different
was the
column.
defender column.
This is the
I'm bad
defender.
at
This one's
reading.
defender. This one is the
It is
elemental buffer.
defender. Okay.
Yeah,
This is a defender.
she's in both of them.
Isn't
As a
she's in
defender,
both? Okay.
right? Um, Ichigo 1 is better than Seda 2 is. The only reason behind that, they have the same exact EX skill, except for one provides fire attack and the other one provides ice attack. The only reason why Ichigo's above Seda 2 is because her taunt increases defense and costs 3 SP. Seda's costs like 7 or 8 SP or something and only heals herself. It doesn't even cut the damage. So, cheaper and more effective goes to Ichigo. However, Seda 2 has more choices. You can heal even your whole part, I mean, not whole part, I mean, your front line. There's other choices you can do with her comparatively to Ichigo 1. But Ichigo 1, in my opinion, is just the better solid defender overall and making sure your team survives. Yeah, that's about it. I don't have much to say about them. Yuina 2. Would Yuina 2 still be considered a strong utility support at this time? I still think so. She gives good solid OD amount and good solid destruction. Her destruction amount is still kind of is a little bit more on the lacking side, but the OD is pretty nice to have. I don't think she has to move. I think she just sits where she is.
Yeah.
Man, look at this gap for damage dealers. Jeez. It's like the new gen, the old gen. Oh no. Let's take a look at the tier under now. Here, right? It's not really tier under, but the tier under that I was looking at. We have Ruka 3, Yuri 1, and Kanade 1. At this point in time, where do we put our where do we value things?
They're all still holding up pretty well.
Yeah. So, I think at this point of the game, they're still holding up pretty well. But do you think any of them deserve a little higher than the other?
I would personally move up Ruka.
Why would you push her up?
Cause she has the defense down on her.
The defense down? But Yuri has the blasting ability, right? So she can blast while getting HP mod.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, we have Sharo for the thunder weakness, and Yuka works well with that because Sharo only gives fragile.
I guess that's true. That's a true fact. Then Union is like bleeding in terms of trying to get SP if you're using Union too. Guess that does make sense. I think Kanade still just stays here. Yeah, I don't think she moves at all.
Yep.
The thing about this is, you gotta remember that without Mua, where your mind eye is coming from feels bad.
She'll get better eventually, don't worry. She's just biding her time.
Yeah, I know, right? But I do.
She just needs somebody who gets both crit and strong funnel, but not mind's eye, and then she'll be better.
Yeah, sounds like Ruka Fire to me. What the fuck? Anyways, Yudi and Kanade, I think, are still solid sitting here.
Yep.
I am under the belief that why I wanted to move one of them up was because I believe Ichigo deserves to come up here.
Yeah, she's very good.
She isn't better in damage. Like, I think that's the thing that people will question, saying, why is she so high up? All that stuff. it's really not her damage that makes her so good and so high up on this list. It's actually the fact that she is so easy to use, and at Limit Break 1, um, easily being able to hit the multipliers for high potency, right? Because she is scaling off of her con, right? So like the more defense you put, I mean not defense, but more defensive stats you put on her, right? The more damage she deals, which is crazy because that means she just sits in the front, tanks all your hits, lets you set up, and blows things up. Insanely powerful when it comes to that. What makes her even better is that if you have Yotsuha 1, Yotsuha 1 can make sure that she can get the crit buffs she needs and still stay in the front line and auto attack without taking away your crit buff, which is insanely powerful of a mechanic to have. So if you have Yotsuha 1, Ichiko 2 becomes like really high tier because of that. She doesn't have to sit in the back line. She can just be in the front line tanking hits while you just set up. Then we have Ruka 2. Her damage at this point goes nothing near these girls. But her hit count really does do wonders. Granted, you could technically argue that Ruka 2 goes in under utility support, is just a worse version of Yuina 2 because you just don't get blasting. Sure, arguably. I think in the JP tier list, I placed her into utility because she can also do that, if I'm not mistaken. Right here, right? So,
Yep.
arguably, I'm not gonna put her there now. We will put her there later once we start splitting the utility supports to becoming like utility versus the destruction. Funny enough, Kappa did talk to me and he was like, I like the fact that you split them because like it helps people understand like what things are used for. So maybe the next tier list we will be splitting up utility supports with destruction users because it will starts to show on how potent characters are in this stage of the game. Going on to strong bottom of 7. This is a solid pick. I think it's fine. I think Tama 4 is relatively similar in terms of how I see Seda 2. Good pickup for especially light, but outside of that, strong, but nothing crazy. Yeah, look at the difference in power of healers. Feels bad. Um, and that's all there is to it. Technically speaking, you can arguably say that Mua should be moved over here as a buffer, but the fact that she only does this one thing, I kind of want to keep her here. Just to show how potent of a healer she is. Fubuki 1 arguably can go lower than this. In fact, all the debuffers can arguably go lower than this. This is where we were just wondering, should we drop them another tier? Shivan, what do you think? Because they arguably are lower.
I wouldn't drop Miko or Ichiko, but I would drop everyone else.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. I was like, okay, so these two definitely should be around here. But I think Fubuki is probably worse than them because she's only one turn anyways, right? At this point.
Is Mia a debuffer? Is it because of her S and A skills? I guess the fragile that you put her there.
Yeah. And like she's considered quote unquote a debuffer in the game as well. Like I think she only her EX skill only provides a field and damage, right? If I'm mistaken. So it's like, I mean, like where else am I supposed to place her? Would this be enough of a move down? That's the real question. Ooh. I think so. And then move Fubuki.
Yeah, she's not great.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think this makes sense. We'll do this. There we go. Copy this, paste it here.
but I would move Charlo back up to 6 bottom.
Yeah. I'm doing that. We are talking about that earlier, anyways. So just take some time. And all the movements, Okay. I think this works. Yeah, there is a big difference between these debuffers and these ones. Byakko 2, I think, still stays here. It's funny because no one ever uses Byakko 2, but she's actually really good. But no one uses her because there's just better options. It's like if you have Byakko 2, you probably already have the better options. And if you don't have the better options, you're probably not running Thunder.
Something did change for Byaku too, though, because she's the first blaster who can make use of her elemental weakness bonus on any enemy now, because
True.
somebody can grant thunder weakness to every enemy.
True.
No other blaster with that effect can do it. Kura can't do it. Adel can't do it. She can. Byaku can.
True. And in fact, in JP, you know that her value has gone up because of Ruka 5?
Yeah.
You know that her blasting values is one of the highest in the game?
Because now she's just thunder at.
She's just a Thunder at. Her damage is not as potent, but her DR buildup is so insanely high. Oh my god, it makes no sense.
And like, does it matter if her damage is less potent when you're overkilling by so much?
So like even if you look at top end fast clears for what's it called again, for score attacks like right now in JP with Thunder, they use Byakko 2 now because she just obliterates, like makes the DR go from 0 to max instantly. Like I don't
Yeah,
think there's
the
anyone else in the
steroid
game that
effect.
can do that. She just does it like it's nothing. Nina 1 still strong. We're gonna keep her here, unconditional. Tama 3 and Megu 3 pretty much have similar damage potencies and stuff. They can both kill. Megu 3 honestly should not be on this list. I only placed her here for one reason alone. She has upset me so many times in score attack because I'm just trying to set up my damage and she kills the boss. Why do you do this? Why do you do this? So, Megu 3 only up here because of that. Granted, I should probably remove her at this point in time. I think I might remove her at this point in time because no one's actually really using her as a damage dealer. So,
Because you got free Yuri. Yeah, why not just use free Yuri?
Yep. So I'm gonna remove her from the list. Just give me a heads up. I'm removing her from the list.
Okay.
Just because I feel like there is no added value if she's in the list or not. And the reason why she's in the list makes a little less sense in this point in time. Comparatively to like Tama 3, which you actively would use her as a damage dealer, right? Granted, I also feel like there is a couple of them in here that deserve a spot up here. Just noting that. But yeah, we're going to top of 6. So Seda 1, solid still. Very much needed buffer. We will see if she gets this. If she gets this, she gets higher. If she doesn't get it, we can ignore the fact that she like moves anywhere. Muddy 1, Tsukasa 1. They basically do the same thing. They just there for the field. They're gonna stay there. I just realized. Where is Tsukasa 2? Oh, here she is. I forgot she's not fire element. Dude, I forgot she's not fire element. I forgot she's neutral. In EN. She's technically neutral.
She's fire element.
No, I mean it's
she's a fire skill.
But she's technically neutral. I should change it to fire.
Fire.
I'm gonna change her to fire because she's actually fire. My brain, dude, I can't comprehend. It hurts. Anyways, we'll break down the rest here. I think we are done with healers. I don't think healers need to move anymore. We're good.
Yeah.
This is solid. I agree. I think this is checked out. I don't think we need to move anyone here. Karen 3 and Hisame 3 are newly added in here. I also value them exactly where I said I would value them, so we're gonna keep them there. Here's where things are a little bit different, in my opinion. So we have Inori, Ruka, we have what's called Waki and Maria. So Limit Break 1. So here's the thing. When I first put Maria on here, I totally did not think about the fact that EN had it easier to keep Maria alive in the front line because of all the charms and stuff. So she was actually rated a lot lower than she should be. In fact, I will actually actively come up here and move her up above them. I actually feel this ever since I've been watching, because the problem was that I assumed was at Limit Break 1, if like Limit Break 0, Limit Break 1, she was really hard to use in JP. But that's mostly because we didn't have like the 35 to 40 stats extra that EN players had. So I actually put her lower, and I remember talking to Red and Rem and stuff when I first put this up, that she was only there because and they agreed with me because it was actually really hard to get those tokens and everything up when she's just getting killed and broken. But she's not in EN because you guys basically have max LV stats, and I just did not account for that when I made this. So I will move her up. Red and Shivan, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I think that makes sense because it just did not occur in my mind that was the case in EN when I first made
Alright,
this.
move her up.
What are you guys' thoughts on that? Like, you guys kind of agree with that fact?
Yeah, mostly. Totems are pretty strong.
Shivan?
They make any damage dealer pretty strong.
I guess Shivan's dead right now. But yeah, so we'll move over here again.
Oh no, I'm not dead. I just didn't really have an opinion.
Okay. So Maria will also move up, right? In here. Here's the thing. In this patch, here's what we actually have to think about. Waki now has access to small funnel and defense buff.
When did she get access to that?
Oh
yeah, like a little
like
bit later.
October, something like that.
No, it was even earlier. It was like
I don't remember. All I remember was that
April of that year.
we did not account for that when making this part because she should have barely gotten it, if not have not gotten it by then. So we are now under the assumption that now if you have Waki, you really don't need to bring Union to a fight. Ruka 1 is still potent because of her upgrade, and Inori does not deserve her spot above them anymore due to like what they have. Do we consider the fact that Waki does not need Union anymore to get her higher into the chart? That's the real question. Because I know for sure we're knocking Inori down. She just doesn't provide enough for herself. Should we move Waki here? Or does she deserve to actually go up a tier? Comparatively to Ruka SS1. Just because she has the extra thing comparatively to Ruka where she doesn't need Union.
I think she could probably go up a tier.
What are your thoughts, Shivan? Like between the two?
But Luca, I guess, doesn't. Are we assuming she'll have the Evo skill?
They both have
They
Evo
both
skill
do.
at this point.
They both have it.
Yep.
Okay, then move her up then, I guess.
Like because like Waki has it, and so does Ruka, right? They both got it at the same time, and unlike JP right now, which Waki's is not as useful, by the way, just because it's harder to get 331C comparatively to 331As. So I personally think right at this time it looks like this, right? Uh, just because she has the
Yeah.
potential of giving herself hit count, which is very valuable, very important. Mona and Nina, I think, should stay. Do we lower our S girls? Um, I think so. We lowered all the girls here. At least Aina should go down at least once, right? Aina should at least go down one, for sure.
Yeah.
Where'd her photo go? Did I erase on accident? It just never existed. EDA, I think, can basically stay where she's at. No, she goes down by one, I think. Also, we also butchered all the other healers, so we should also butcher her. Shiki. I think that's
I
fair.
don't know. I'm not using Shiki anymore at that point.
I think
I
it's
think
still
that-
fair to place her there, but
Yeah, it's fine if you don't. If you're all LB0, then she could make a huge
But this
difference.
is an LB1 list.
this is LB1 list.
No, I mean it's not
True.
assuming every style you have is LB1, is it?
It's
think so.
assuming that
Isn't that the
all
point
the
of LB1?
styles, yeah, this is assuming that all the styles
This
that
is
are
all LB1.
yep, LB1.
I think I miss. Is assuming? Okay. Anyway.
So
I
everything
totally
here is
see
assumed to be
that.
LB1 except for the S's. All the S's are assumed to be max LB.
Max LB.
But I mean,
Right.
she can compensate for having a team with mostly LB0s. Is what
Yep.
I mean.
But
In
like,
addition to Union.
I think that's what also. I mean, what you're trying to say is that her value is in that, right? In the fact of that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I still have her this high. Is she
Mhm.
increases the value of your LB zeros, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tsukasa 2, I think, still stays here unless she gets buffed. If she gets buffed, she goes up. One day, she'll get those buffs. The healers will stay. They're strong healers, but nothing crazy. Same with these two. Yep, I think everyone here is fine. We'll go to tier 5s. Tama still doesn't buff enough. I think all these are fine as well. I don't think anyone moves. A lot of these we already moved again. I think these are fine. Chiroru's fine where she's at. And do we want to move Hisame and Carol? I think Carol would go down a tier, huh? At
Yeah.
this point. Even if Thunder has newly appointed
Someone
Shadow.
would-
At this point in time, I still lower her one, just because of how potent all the other damage dealers have been, and the amount of content you really have for her is strictly orb, which is really important to be honest. Because we already knocked Yuki down one, I also feel like we should also knock. I mean, Yuki down a whole entire tier. I think we should also knock Carol down.
Yeah. She's just not as good as Yuki.
Yeah, I'm just gonna knock her down a whole entire, which feels bad, but you know, who really cared about? I mean, what? Viable tier. Okay, so here's a real question: do we want to move viable tier? As in, is viable now 5, or is viable still 4, or viable now 3? Viable's definitely not 3. Looking at 3, I'm like, viable's definitely not 3. Where do we
I
put?
think Viable's still 4 because
4.
Dark doesn't have a field.
I think
Iroha's
so
still
too.
viable.
Yeah. So Iroha's
Thunder
still
still doesn't
viable.
have good Thunder attack up buffers.
Yep.
You can still use Tom as a buffer.
I mean, Tama's buffers up here, down here. These are not viable.
Tom as a healer.
But Tama's a
Yeah, you
healer.
can use her as a healer.
Ooh. Is her
Miko,
thunder buff that useless?
It's very expensive.
very expensive. It's 15
For a
cost, dude,
buff.
for a whole
But
for
it
a whole
has like
team.
the best animation.
It does. You're not wrong. Okay, but it's not the animation tier list. We should do that another time. Okay. Honestly, I was
True.
thinking of us like once we're done with all the tier listing and stuff, we should do like the fun ones of like the drip, you know, the more fun shit.
Yeah.
It's just, but like because of Luca 5, she ruined everything. Okay, I wanted to do the drip and stuff so bad, but you know, Luca 5 just ruins everything. What can I say? Um, Miko, man,
Miko.
Miko's
She might not be viable anymore.
Miko's not viable anymore, dude. I I really don't think she's viable at this point. Is she viable as a damage dealer for a dungeon? Arguable. Anything else? No.
Not for bosses. They're all null resist. She can't do it.
True.
It's only its random enemies.
Sadly, Megu at this point, she's just too expensive to use.
Yeah.
So, she's down here. In fact, I will actually keep her actively here. Um, Maki it definitely only provides one debuff, so we're gonna keep her here. Um, as a blaster, I think we should actually, you know, I says right here, I think we should actively place a Maki if she was Limit Break 3. Um, I do think she deserves up here if she's Limit Break 3. I think right here is fine. And put Limit Break 3. These are just like I put the notes there just for exceptions, right? So, that's the exception. She is really good at doing that job as a blaster. And she also has this, so it's always a nice plus. Uh, at Limit Break 1, she's more than viable, but she's still, yikesies. I think she kind of sits here. Better than the Cuttins? Arguably not. I think she just goes up one tier here. Like that. I think it's the Wallkeeper.
Okay.
It's like a weird, hard placement, so we'll just place her here. Akari can be moved here, because she's here. And ta-da! We finished that little section. It looks cute now. We and this one also gets this treatment. Okay. We have Yuina, Bungo, and Ichigo. Ichigo still's under the feels bad of Thunder. Attack up just one time. She's much more usable in general anyways, because if you put her with Aoi, you can still pull out some the taunts. Yuina 1 feels barely viable at this point. Kind of feels bad, not gonna lie. And then Bungo is just Bungo. Bungo's just chilling. I don't see any of them moving at all. They're just kind of clunky, kind of hard to use, or don't provide enough for the team. Kaden 2, Sumomo 2, pretty much in the same boat. You can actually use them as damage dealers, but they're kind of mid. And that's about it. Let's. I don't think these are really arguable. I think they're all just a little clunky. They're like I said, viable literally means you can use them. They are not complete garbage. They are usable as your damage dealer. It's just that the other ones are either easier to use or their damage numbers are so much so much higher with the same amount of investment as these girls that it just feels bad. So that's the main difference for damage dealers. You actually actively funny note, for damage dealers in general, the damage difference isn't actually that big if you have them just have their potency for their damage, because that's SP cost based. It's mostly just how easy is it for them to perform their task for main damage, like dealer tier list. It's kind of a weird thing to say, because like in most games that's not the case. In most games, like their numbers are actively just higher. That is not the case in this game. This game is just how easy is it for them to actually do their task, and how much investment do you need comparatively to other games where they actively just increase the numbers. I think that's like the funniest thing about this game on how to balance is that they really do have strict rules on how they create their characters. So when we see what's it called again? In JP, when we see new characters, the only real way to buff, I mean to like to power, like what's it called again? To power creep, is just to add in a new effect to a skill, which are supports. That's why supports are typically the ones that see more of the differences when it comes to power creep, while damage dealers, it's a little bit less. The only real difference you can see in damage dealers is their common skill able to provide more buffs to them so they don't have to rely on their supports, or their hit count is like 10 plus. There isn't really I think that's the weirdest thing to say for most games, but most damage dealers in other games, they legitimately have higher numbers. This game is like not the case. It's like, do their common skills actually provide them with something else or not? Um, Outside of totems, we're not going to talk about like tokens. Tokens change everything. um, tier unviable. The first level of unviable. It's getting a little dark here. Let me turn on the light. Okay, I'm back. First tier of unviable. We have Waki 2. We have Shiki 1. As the top of unviable elemental supports. I think they still stand there.
Yeah, she's still unviable.
There's
Still
like
an elemental support.
still an elemental support, still unviable, but they're still strong in terms of what they can do. It's just not worth using. Either their SP costs are too high, they're very fragile and really hard to use. For instance, Waki makes herself lower her defense by like 100% or something when she buffs. It's just not really good due to those. So, not worth it. We have Lisa 1, and we have Maria 2, who basically their heals are kind of weak and they're very small, so they also stay there. Miko only has a AoE and a single target defense down. You can kind of mix and choose which one you want, but that's all she brings to table. Koju 1 is just elemental for thunder defense down, but outside of that, nothing much. Unless she gets her tower upgrade, she's not moving. And even when she gets her tower upgrade, I don't think she's viable tier even then.
Yeah, she needs another Memoria and a tower upgrade.
Yep. For main damage, Minori SS1. Yeah, her damage numbers are pretty bad. Yeah. It feels bad. Kura, if you hit dark, really good at what she does. She also does really well as a utility support. However, when I say really good, I mean if you build a team around her. You gotta really build a team around her. She's just not that good. And at this point, as healers are kind of so they can stay there too. Bottom of tier 3, Ichigo and Seto, their buffs are not that expensive. They're pretty good, but they're more so for defending, not for the attack buff. So they can sit where they're at. Hisame is the only one to provide light defense down, even to this day. That's right. A whole year has passed in JP, comparatively to where you guys are now. And Hisame 1 is still your only light defense down. You wonder why light is weak? You see a reason here. Dark defense down, also including that same skill, but she's not even a debuffer, so it feels omega bad. In fact, I wouldn't feel bad lowering her to tier 2 as a debuffer. She's that bad. Kura SS1 and Byako SS1. Yeah, I don't see a point in moving them.
Yeah, they mostly do the same thing.
Yuina 2, her damage numbers are still bad. She's viable for the orb fight. That's about it. You
I
can
don't
use
know,
her for
because she has high
dungeon.
hit count.
You can use her for dungeon, I guess. Uh, I I've always hated how her damage is pretty bad and pretty sad. The only saving grace for her now, remember, as a damage dealer, she's not that good. However, if you do have the support, like Sharo 2, she can still be used.
Yeah, that's the Sharo 2 effect, though.
Yep. Not
Takes a lot of
It has
characters.
nothing to do with Yuina. It's just everything to do with Yuina 2. I mean, to do with Shadow 2. Tama as a buffer for is tier 2. It's just
Yeah, 15 SP is a lot
15
to
SP
pay.
is a lot. The
It's a lot to
reason
pay. She does have
why
better teams now.
what?
She has better teams now. That's important.
Yeah. The reason why Tama 3 is seen as good is not because she's good in any category. It's the fact that she can be in nearly every category. She can heal. She can be your buffer. She can be a unique buffer, by the way, because in this day and age, she is the only one to provide thunder attack up. No one else can do it. Only she can. Um, and she can heal really, really well. She can deal damage really well. Um, if you bring an orb for, whatever, you can also counter the debuffer. I wouldn't, but I'm just saying you can't, right? Because you're building int anyways. She can also be a debuffer in that aspect. Not worth it, but it exists. Chiroru only has a taunt, 4 SP taunt, but single target. That's it.
She could go down a tier.
She could probably go down to tier 1. By the way, Rem always laughs at me. He's like, why do you go from like tier 10 to like tier 1? It's like the opposite of everyone else. It's whatever. um, Maria, her heal's kind of eh. She has a very small one. In fact, even if she gets the one from Maria too, still feels bad. Kura SS2 and Yuki 4. Uh, yeah, they don't move. They just stay there. They're chilling in the unviable, not very fun to use tier. Bungo SS1 and Karen SS1. Yeah, their damage is like for Karen SS1 not viable. Bungo at this point, she's just competing against Maria SS1, Waki SS1, which they already provide themselves with more stuff than she can. Adel and Mari are just so much stronger than her. She can arguably be placed up one tier, but she's she's laughable in use, and she makes me want to, just bash the keyboard. Oh, someone messaged. Now there's a voice behind the man. There was always a voice. What? What do you mean? There's now a voice. There's always been a voice. Anyways, as I was saying, um, the the problem with her is, she just makes me want to chuck my keyboard, as I have missed with her 6 times in a row, just trying to log off the game by doing the hyperbolic. I just want to rip it apart, man. It's just not fun. And then Irene and Adele, they're just there to exist.
But Irene has the self hit count and critical rate buff.
Yeah, but she does null damage.
Yeah, but
they're both in tier 2. If you want to say that Irene should be up 1 and next to Adele, does it really make a difference?
How about Karen should be down a tier? Because she does null damage, and this is full elemental meta now. There's no excuse anymore.
You know what? You're right.
Null damage dealer, really?
Okay. You know what? There we go.
Why shouldn't Irene be next to Adele?
It's less of a problem for the AoE null characters because you're using them for maybe or battles, and those don't resist null.
Yeah, or battles.
That's pretty much it. That's the only reason.
The gym stuff.
In fact,
in
fact, here's what I'll do. There we go. Just so they feel a little bit better. There we go. There we
Or
go.
you could just take her off the damage dealer list altogether.
You know what? You're right. She doesn't even deserve a spot at this point. But we will keep Free Duka there
Mhm.
for the memes.
Okay.
She
Maybe
also
one day she'll get a tower buff. We could give her crit penetration. They could do it.
Why do you keep saying that? Why do you
Because
keep saying
it's
that?
9 hits and it's cheap cost, and if it always generates overdrive, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Why do you keep saying
Now
that?
Diva Ruka could use it. Come on. I have a dream. One day she'll be good.
Misato's, I thought she was a dark attacker.
Yeah,
Who?
she is.
Who is?
She's that bad? Misato?
Okay, so first of all, I'll explain a couple of things. First of all, I placed okay, so she should actually be in tier 1, but it doesn't matter if she's tier 1 or tier 0, okay? Um do you know her original kit, Shivan?
No, no idea.
Okay,
I
okay.
only
So
used her
the
for
reason why I
Akari.
put her in tier 0 over tier 1 is for that meme, okay? You do know that nowadays, so she's one of the few SSs that they have actually buffed before the tower buff existed.
Oh.
Why?
Yep.
Okay. Red played since day 1, so he knows the whole
Yeah, I know.
story. Okay, but let's start off with the first detail. Okay, um, you didn't play back then, and technically nor did I. But how many hits it was to fill up the OD bar, the auto attack also mattered. So every blunt character would only generate
Uh-huh.
one hit. Okay,
Mhm.
so every single one of them. Okay, Misato's blunt. She only generates one hit. Okay, her
Mhm.
her EX ability can only be used during OD. So right now it's conditional where she actually has a really bad ult when she doesn't use it during OD. And then she has like a decent ult, still bad, but decent ult when she is in OD. Back then you couldn't
Mhm.
even use the ult unless you were in OD. She was that bad.
That's
Okay?
kind of weird.
Then they buffed her before tower buffs even existed, okay? Before we even started playing the game, Shivan, okay? They
Mhm.
they buffed her and said, "Oh, you can use her ult when when there's no OD." Okay? However,
Mhm.
it's just the potency is just as bad as Free Duka S. The Free Duka
Oh.
SS is that bad.
Hmm.
So yes, she's elemental. Yes, she is dark. But oh lord, is she bad. And the story behind the fact that she couldn't even generate her own OD and she had to have OD to pop her EX, that meme
Mhm.
alone, I place her in this tier. Granted, she should be tier 1. That's one of the meme ones I put. It's just that bad.
Huh. That's cool.
It's also why, technically speaking, like so some of the stuff I have on here are there's a little memes and stuff attached to it, but like a lot of them are in this lower tier where it really doesn't matter. Um, just like how Seika 2,
Mhm.
she should never even be here, because the heal is so negligible. Like, who the hell cares? But that's the joke, right?
Mhm.
That it's so bad. Anyways, um, sure, we'll raise Sumomo and Yuki SS2. Um, Yuki SS2 probably and Sumomo 1 should arguably be tier 2 because they're elemental, but like honestly at this point, if you have anything better, you should not be using them. Uh, Also, granted, damage dealing in general, these are not all your damage dealers. Anyone who deals damage can be your damage dealer, right? So, for instance, if you wanted to run Megu as your damage dealer, you can. if you want to run Shadow as your damage dealer, you technically can. But do you want to use Shadow 2 as your damage dealer? No. Just saying you can. Akari 2, you technically can. Miyatu, you also technically can. I've seen people hit the 1 million marker with Miyatu. Would I want to do that? If I had Miyatu LV3. So, I think this is the list. I think we're good. I will mark this as updated as of today, right?
Alright.
And I will update this with the current stream that I have been going on. I think this is pretty much it. I'll probably have Rem and Kappa and a few others take a quick
over it.
look
Yeah.
over, and if I have any changes since what I've put on, just like the JP tier list, where I did note some of those changes I did after the stream, which is right here. I have adjusted a couple of them. Then I will note them here, right? As for EN, we can technically put in who we need to put in. So, for instance, Mua can now join the healer tier list because she's got announced, right?
Yep.
We can. I'm gonna probably break down the buffer one to add an elemental at this point because there's not enough room. Who else is coming out? Seda. Just add her
Yep.
here for now.
Sena and Yotsune.
Put Seda here for now, and I'll deal with it later. This is starting to get more and more full. But now we should be set for EN. This is basically what you should be looking at. If you're wondering, if you're here and you're wondering why we stopped at Akari, the Akari banner, you should know why by looking at who's afterwards and what we have built afterwards. Just go ahead and check it out if you want to. But just know that this is basically the rundown of how things look like in that period of time. Should you follow this as a Bible? No. But this is from the experience of us players. And we will note that as long as they're not within this tier here of 3 and through 0, you'll actually actively see them be used in many teams. You'll notice that the more you play, as long as you have the choices above, you'll probably never touch these ones below, unless of course they have a secondary value that is higher, right? For instance, Tama has a higher damage or whatever, or Seda is used as a defender, right? But these are like kind of secondary roles, right? Maria, same thing. But anything with like a primary role, they're kind of in the gutter at this point. Because people asked for it, by the way, I did add Chie to the EN to the current EN AoE list. But at this point, there's no reason to do that, so she's not gonna be there. Okay, guys, don't ask for it, please. Thanks.
Hey, I used her in EN as a damage dealer. I went there.
I know. People ask me
Just
to put
for
it in.
this score
I-
attack because I only have light and pierce damage.
Okay, listen, I know I run Chia as a meme. She's also one of the reasons why she wasn't on this part of the list is because honestly it's a meme, and I didn't want people to like re-roll for her because she has decently high on this list. It's like one of those things. That's why Irene technically, I will note again, she was supposed to be tier 9 if I rated it correctly. It's just that I did not put her tier 9 because I didn't want people to heavily invest into an Irene that will not be useful for about a year. And so she is left to be a little bit lower, but still to show that she is the best AoE right now in EN. JP2, I guess, but EN. The last thing I'll note is due to me not understanding how unfragile people are, I think I can value Minori a little bit higher as a buffer. just because in JP, Minori was never used. I'll explain this. So a lot of people have asked, why is Minori so low? I actually will raise her from here today. The main reason in this day and age, though, in JP, I mean in EN, I will keep her down here, but in current EN, I think I will slightly raise her. If there is any room once I make it elemental, non-elemental. The reason behind that is technically she is viable. The main problem with her was that your team cannot survive if she exists on your team. You don't have enough room to have her and another healer to provide
And
things.
your other buffers and debuffers.
Uh-huh. Unless, of course, you're running like Maria 1, and even then you'll have to have pretty high LBs. In JP, you need like max LBs, or else like you can't even fathom the idea of trying to fit Minori 1 into your team. Just because she does nothing for you outside of Mind Eye. And that is a big, big problem. And that's why she is considered low, even though Mind Eye is such an important buff. So for
and
those,
unique to her for now.
so for now, she'll be useful. Once 120 difficulty 120 hits, you will realize that you can't really afford to put her on your team unless you're running 100. I will note here. Let's see, HBR quest. Let's change this to not JP server. Is this in English? Yeah, it is. Okay. I always go back and forth between EN and JP because I usually have this on like in Japanese, but I'm just not used to it. So I will note over here. I think. Let's see. We'll use the one that we're about to have, I guess, as an example, right? 120 versus 100 is a very big difference, in terms of like how scary the enemy is. As you can see, the recommended power is now 18,000. You are currently used to a enemy that is asking you for a 16,000 power. Yes, this guy will hurt. So unless you are running it at 100 or 110, you will notice that Minori will not fit in your team anymore. The border is going to go from 290 all the way to 360. That is a 70 border difference. The damage you'll be taking will be substantial comparatively to the little peanut damage that they're dealing now. The other thing you have to realize is this attack percent, right? If you looked before, right, at 90, it's 165. It deals like no damage. At 100, right, it's 360. So it still has that nice multiplier, but the border is going to be higher by 70. On top of that, as you go up, right, you can see the numbers go back down because the border increase. So 101 will deal more damage than 100 does. And as you can see, the attack percent goes down by 60%, but the border went up by 30. So you are going to have to worry about that damage difference. It's going to be pretty big. This one's not that big. It's a little bit higher, but then now you can understand how much of a difference this 350 and 360 border is. It's a substantial difference, and if I'm not mistaken, even the bosses are different between the two. Let me check. Just to make sure. No, they're both D's. Okay, they're the same. They're the same
I'm
potency
gonna head
stuff.
out now.
You can head out.
It was fun.
So,
See you next time we're doing tier list stuff.
Yep. and
Bye.
Shivan, if you want to head out, you're allowed to head out too.
All right, cool.
Take care.
Yeah, it was fun. Oh, I did want to point out that the tier list is kind of less important than the team dynamics. So if somebody's free to play, they should pick like the element match or the kind of buff they need or debuff they need over the like specific ranking of a style.
The
Okay.
Yep.
See ya.
To further what Shivan said, as I always noted, my tier list is based off the fact of not to the priority to pull, but rather how powerful who you pulled that was random was. So don't think about trying to be like, oh, they're high on the tier list, therefore I should pull them. No, that just means that how strong of a pull you did get when you off rated. The reason why I write it this way is because you're more likely to off rate than you are to pull on a banner. Because you're more likely to get all these random SS tickets that they throw at you. We're gonna get, I mean not we, but EM players are gonna get another one in what 5 hours or something. That's where most of your characters get. You get them. Example is in JP. I never pulled for Sumomo 3, and I have her now at Limit Break 2.5. Right. So it all really depends. Right. So yep. That's pretty much the thing. I'm gonna cut off the stream on the YouTube side. So cutting